Family farming. I have a skill set panel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 Chishan Zhao Family. Yam State, Nanshan County. The mountain wind is noisy, and the sound of insects is audible. Thunder roars over the valley not far from the foot of Chishan Mountain, as if a night rain is coming. The dark clouds cover the moon, and the night is suddenly dark. Puff, the man in green holding a sword and holding a torch passed through the mist by the river, in a hurry, as if looking for something. Half a month ago, Zhao Xiukong, the member of the Zhao family who was said to have the most hope of breaking through the foundation in the past 100 years, swallowed the foundation pill with the perfect key refining. The foundation failed, and his cultivation fell to the middle stage of key refining. His danshan was damaged. I am afraid that he will not be able to build a foundation within 20 years, which made all the members of the family discouraged and sad. At this juncture, the fairy of the Chu family, who had already made an agreement with Zhao Xiukong to marry, also resolutely broke off the relationship with him. With a piece of paper to cancel the engagement, the entire Zhao family lost face in the Nanshan County cultivation world. The Zhao family was indignant, but they could do nothing. Zhao Xiuxuan, the ancestor of the Zhao family, was originally a giant and cultivator from Longshan Mountain in Bimo State. After failing to compete for the position of sect master, he fled to Yan State with his family and was seriously injured. He spent most of his fortune to buy a second-level inferior spiritual vein in Chishan from Qingyuan Valley, a major sect in Yan State, and established the Zhao family. But just 50 years later, the ancestor was seriously injured and died. The second-generation patriarch was Zhao Xiuxuan, who was in the middle stage of foundation building. He and the great elder Zhao Xiuxuan supported each other and guarded the ancestor's foundation for 130 years. Then they passed away one after another. At that time, the Zhao family was in a period of transition, and had to put the entire Zhao family on the shoulders of Zhao Lingting, who had only perfected key training. When Zhao Lingting became the patriarch, he was already old, and his ki and blood gradually declined, making it impossible for him to build a foundation. Fortunately, in recent years, Zhao Xiukong, who was born with excellent talent, appeared in the family. He thought he could build a foundation safely, but he never thought of such a thing. Originally, the clan leader Zhao Lingting went against all odds and exchanged a shop in Fianfeng for spirit stones to buy a foundation building pill to increase Zhao Xiukong's chances of building a foundation. He never expected that something that was almost certain would go wrong. Zhao Xiukong was upset after his engagement was broken off. After making a big fuss in the clan, he ran away to an unknown place in the past few days. The clan leader recovered and was about to look for him. Zhao Xiuxuan received a task today to search around Chishan. The genius fell, the engagement was broken off, and everything that happened to Zhao Xiukong is a standard template for the protagonist. Zhao Xiuxuan shook his head and smiled, thinking to himself, if we talk about a template for the protagonist, wouldn't I, the time traveler, be more like the original? Zhao Xiuxuan was not originally from this world. He was an ordinary employee in his previous life. One night, he was working overtime and suddenly his heart beat fast. Soon he fainted. When he woke up, he became a person with the same name and surname in this world. His father was a key refining cultivator of the Zhao family. He died while training outside when Zhao Xiuxuan was young. His mother returned to the original family with her newborn sister. For some reason, Zhao Xiuxuan was left alone. Zhao Xiuxuan later lived in the mountains for many years. At the age of 11, he broke through the acquired nature by cleansing his essence and marrow. He inherited the Zuanshan Guang and transformed his essence into essence by eating qi. At the age of 26, he has reached the 5th level of qi refining. According to the realm, 1, 2, and 3 are the lower level, and 4, 5, and 6 are the middle level. He is now in the middle stage of qi refining. His aptitude is mediocre and he is in the middle level in the Zhao family. After 2 months in this world, Zhao Xiuxuan has integrated into his own identity. Creaky, the sound of a carriage came from the road not far away, which aroused his vigilance. It's late at night. The front is the territory of Chishan. Who is coming here at this time, on the gravel road? A carriage slowly drove towards him. The white horse was of the same color, carrying a sandalwood carriage. wearing brocade and hanging tassels, which was extremely luxurious. On the wooden frame of the carriage, there was a blue phoenix. A man in black clothes sat in the driver's seat, his back bent like a bow, his eyes like knives. Zhao Xiuxuan glanced at the kingling on the carriage and knew it was the Chu family of Wutuang Mountain. The man in the carriage had a round true essence and full of spiritual energy. He didn't need to use the detection technique to know that his realm was several levels higher than his. He must be a cultivator in the late stage of key refining. He hurriedly bowed and said, I don't know if the person in the carriage is a cultivator of the Chu family. What is the purpose of coming to Chishan? Unfortunately, Chishan is sealed today. If you have any urgent matters, let me convey them with a sound transmission note. The Chu and Zhao families have been married for 3 generations. If it was in the past, there was no need to notify them like this. They could enter Chishan after verifying their identities. However, now, the man on the horse didn't waste any words. He lifted the curtain on the carriage and pulled out a man with a blood and pale face from inside. Although the night was dark, the man's green robe with cloud patterns was particularly conspicuous and familiar. Zhao Xiuxuan took a closer look. Wasn't this Zhao Xiukong, whom he had been looking for? After he recognized him correctly, he was shocked and took out a shining talisman from his waist and held it in his hand. As long as this man in the late stage of key refining wanted to take action, this Xuanwu talisman would form a layer of spiritual shield protection in a moment, and it would be difficult for him, a late-stage cultivator, to break through in a cup of tea. As long as he could hold on for this time and offer a communication talisman, he could call for support from his clansmen. After making up his mind, Zhao Xiuxuan's face remained unchanged, and he asked in a normal tone, What do you mean, fellow Taoist? Why are people from my Zhao family on the Chu family's chariot? The man in black was surprised after hearing this and said, You are a good-natured young man, unlike this man. As he said that, the man in black sneered and nodded his chin at the motionless Zhao Xiukong. 2 days ago, this boy claimed to be from the Zhao family, and ran toward Wutuang Mountain 6 Absolute's formation to challenge, and used magic to attack the gate of our Chu family, threatening that it was not our Chu family that broke off the engagement, but he wanted to divorce our Chu family's daughter, and he also took out a divorce letter, and insulted our Chu family in his words. Everyone knows that our Chu family and the Zhao family have always been on good terms, so how could we tolerate such a villain to interfere? People of the same generation came forward to spar with him. I thought that this boy was so wild and must be a good fighter, but I didn't expect that he was defeated after just a few moves. It is normal for cultivators to fight without caution. The elders of the clan were afraid that it was the boy from the Zhao family, so they hurried to investigate, but it was too late when they arrived. The man in black clothes spoke politely, but he threw Zhao Xiukong like a rag in his hand, and Zhao Xiuxuan hurriedly caught it. He sniffed it with his nose, and although his breath was fluctuating, he was still breathing. Putting the sword finger in the dantian to check, Zhao Xiuxuan found that Zhao Xiukong's dantian was almost shattered, and all his cultivation was lost. Seeing his absent-minded face and the state of 3 souls leaving his body, Zhao Xiuxuan was shocked. The Chu family has such a vicious heart. They directly destroyed Zhao Xiukong's dantian. He will never be able to practice in this life. Although he was a newcomer, Zhao Xiuxuan couldn't help but look a little cold when he saw the Zhao family members being humiliated like this. Seeing Zhao Xiuxuan's cold face, the man in black laughed and said, You are so brave. You are a cultivator who has just entered the middle stage of key refining, but you have such courage to face me. Who are you? Zhao Xiuxuan didn't know why he was so confused just now. He felt vaguely that it might still be affected by his original body. At this time, he was calmed down by the words and questions of the man in black. His face was expressionless again, and he couldn't see his emotions. Zhao Xiuxuan of the Zhao family, he said briefly. He had the Xuanwu talisman in his hand, and half a mile behind him was the mountain protection formation of Chishan. Even if this man was in the late stage of key training, he had nothing to fear. The Xuanwu talisman was inherited by Zhao Xuanwu, the ancestor of the Zhao family. It was originally a 3rd-level medium-quality talisman. After more than 10 years of meditation and study, the 2nd-generation patriarch Zhao Xiuxiu refined it into a new 1st-level top-quality talisman, which also inherited the name Xuanwu. Since then, the Xuanwu talisman has become a unique water-based talisman of the Zhao family. Based on this, the Zhao family was able to open 3 shops and obtain spiritual stone income. The Xuanwu talisman is more important than defense, and it is so powerful that it cannot be attacked. Zhao Xiuxuan thought about it in his heart and thought that there was no need to cause trouble at this time. He first sent Zhao Xiuqong back to the clan for treatment. Although his Danshan was so severely damaged that he could not practice Taoism, it would be good to survive and become a rich man. Thinking of this, he picked up Zhao Xiuqong and was about to leave. The man in black clothes didn't agree. He jumped into the air and hit him with a palm. The palm was so powerful that before the palm wind arrived, a ball of fire as big as a baby rushed towards him. Chapter 2 Skill Panel. Fire Cloud Palm. The Chu family was born into a noble family. It is said that they are secular royal family who entered Taoism through martial arts. Although this fire cloud palm is a basic move, it is amazingly powerful when used by the black-clothed man. Although Zhao Xiuxuan was holding a person, his feet were like ghosts. While he was just probing Zhao Xiuqong's Danshan, he had already applied a Luoyan step to himself. His Luoyan step is different from the ordinary Luoyan step. He was seen like a black wind blowing, and immediately dodged the black-clothed man's palm fire. Then, he jumped again and dodged the oncoming King Kong palm. Bang! A big hole was split on the ground by a palm, and gravel flew everywhere. Huh? The black-clothed man exclaimed, then flew up and slashed several fire palms in the air again. But Zhao Xiuxuan dodged all of them like a butterfly flying through flowers. What kind of body movement is this? The divine step? No, the divine step is a second-level body movement. You, a key refining cultivator, definitely don't have such power. The black-clothed man was quite surprised. Although his fire cloud palm had reduced some of its power, he still couldn't believe that Zhao Xiuxuan dodged it so easily. Zhao Xiuxuan saw his palm power and knew that the other party was not serious. He was afraid that there was something else going on. However, since the other party had already started, it would be unreasonable for him not to treat him well. Besides, this was the first time he had really fought with someone in this world. He might as well take this opportunity to try it out. Thinking of this, he took out a communication talisman from his arms and briefly explained what happened here. A golden light flew to Chishan, and his other hand was still pinching a Zhuangwu talisman. His feet once again performed ghostly tricks, a few virtual steps and leaps, turning into several phantoms and throwing 4 fireballs in front of, behind, and around the black-clothed man. Seeing that he was attacked from all sides, the black-clothed man dodged 2 attacks from the front with a kick, and swung his hands to the left and right to slash out 2 palm fires. Bang! The palm fire and the fireball technique exploded, and there was a huge explosion. Zhao Xiuxuan didn't need to report this noise, and Chishan must have noticed that something was wrong here. The black-clothed man thought that this boy had excellent footwork and the magic he performed must be good, but he didn't expect that this fireball technique was just ordinary, not half as powerful as his fire cloud palm. Your footwork is weird and tight, and your magic is very ordinary. Where did you come from? Zhao Xiuxuan ignored him and stepped vigorously. Every step he took was a black cyclone. Seeing that the fire cloud palm couldn't get close to the boy in front of him, the black-clothed man changed his moves and took out a long sword from his storage bag. He swung it in a circle with a whistling sound and slashed in all directions. Fire slashing saber technique. A ring of fire visible to the naked eye exploded, and Zhao Xiuxuan, who was jumping around, had nowhere to hide. Zhao Xiuxuan knew that his fireball technique could not hurt the Chu family cultivator, so he simply let him use the fire slashing saber technique, and only used the Loyal step to pass through the fire and smoke, dodging the slashes of the sword like a juggler. Half a cup of tea. The black-clothed man's heart jumped more and more. This kid was like a flea, very flexible, and the broadsword with a wide swing plus the fire system slashing made it impossible to touch his body. At this time, several figures from the direction of Chishan rushed over here with a roar. The black-clothed man frowned, put away his sword and leaned over. Boy, don't fight anymore. I didn't expect that the younger generation of the Zhao family has such a body technique. My name is Chu Shanfeng, you remember it? Zhao Xiuxuan knew that the elders of the family had arrived, and he didn't say anything, but just arched his hands to the black-clothed man to show that he remembered it. The black-clothed man raised his eyebrows. He found Zhao Xiuxuan's attitude interesting. Chu Shanfeng, the person from the Zhao family, was Elder Zhao, who was in the late stage of key refining. He was a cultivator of the Du generation. When the Zhao family was founded, the ancestor Zhao Zhuangwu used Zuanbao Lingdu, Zizhongyan, Tongluo Xingong, as the generation name of the clan members. Zhao Xiuxuan was the elder who lectured on the sutras of the Zhao family. Zhao Xiuxuan sent a message to him immediately. Zhao Xiuxuan received the message from the flying talisman and hurriedly brought several members of the Xiu generation in the middle stage of key refining. Xiukong, Zhao Xiuxuan saw Zhao Xiukong's miserable condition and hurriedly went up to help him up and check. Seeing that his dantian was completely damaged, he was even more furious. "You Chu family are bullying too much." Zhao Xiuxuan sacrificed a flying sword from the storage bag on his waist. The green light flowed and it spun half a foot between his forehead. He was just waiting for a spell to be cast and then he would fight with Chu Shanfeng. "Zhao Xiuxuan, do you really want to fight with me?" Chu Shanfeng changed his provocative attitude towards Zhao Xiuxuan and looked solemn. "Today I am here on behalf of Wutong Mountain. If we fight, it means that the Chu and Zhao families have officially broken up." "You?" Zhao Xiuxuan was furious, and the green light of his flying sword surged endlessly, but he did not really stop the sword tactics. "Duan, retreat first." A warm voice sounded from behind Zhao Xiuxuan, and the old patriarch Zhao Lingting stepped forward. Zhao Xiuxuan hurriedly called patriarch with everyone else. "Patriarch, this Chu family bullies my Zhao family because we have no one. Xiukong's dantian is completely destroyed, and he will never be able to practice in this life." Zhao Xiuxuan was furious, his face was still angry, but he put down the sword tactics in his hand. Seeing Zhao Lingting come forward, Chu Shanfeng straightened up a little, bowed and called him uncle. Zhao Xiuxuan was stunned, and then he remembered that the patriarch Zhao Lingting had a marriage with the Chu family. Among the two foundation-building cultivators in the Chu family, one of them, Chu Yazi, who is now half the head of the family, is the wife of the patriarch Zhao Lingting. However, after she returned to Wutong Mountain to visit her relatives 20 years ago, she never appeared again. It was not until later that it was heard that she successfully broke through in seclusion and became a foundation-building cultivator. Zhao Lingting waved his hand at Chu Shanfeng and looked at Zhao Xiukong. His face was also very bad, changing from blue to white. "What's going on? Tell me in detail." Chu Shanfeng repeated what he had just said to Zhao Xiuxuan. Zhao Lingting was silent for a long time after hearing this. Seeing that Zhao Xiuxuan was right beside Zhao Xiukong, he ordered, "Xiuxuan, take Xiukong back to the clan first and save his life." Zhao Xiuxuan and a clan member who lent a hand lifted Zhao Xiukong and walked away. Before they walked far, they heard Zhao Lingting say leisurely, "I'm not dead yet, Chu Yazi can't hold it back." On the way, Zhao Xiuxuan combined some of his past speculations with today's one, and finally tasted some flavors. Nanshan County is located in the south of the Yangtze River, and most of them are from aristocratic families, so there are many families. Let's not talk about other territories for the time being. In the area around Chishan, there are the Wutong Shuchu family and the Qinghoshan Li family, two foundation-building families. 30 years ago, the Zhao family was also one of them. At that time, the Li family was powerful, with 3 foundation-building cultivators in the sect, and even a late foundation-building cultivator sitting in the sect. So let's not talk about the generation of the ancestors. By the time of the second generation of the Zhao family, it was stable and suppressed the Chu and Zhao families. In order to fight against the Li family, the Chu and Zhao families started to make friends, their children intermarried, and formed an alliance, and then they fought against the Li family. However, in recent decades, Zhao Lingting, the third-generation patriarch of the Zhao family, was only a cultivator who had perfected key training. The Chu family had a crush on him, not only tricking Chu Yazi back to the clan, but also bewitching her to return to the Chu family and take over the position of elder as a Chu family member. Since then, the Chu family has been thinking about annexing the Zhao family, but for some reason, they have never taken action. Recalling the last words of the patriarch, "I'm not dead yet, Chu Yazi can't hold back," Zhao Xiuxuan boldly guessed that perhaps the time for the Zhao family to be annexed by the Chu family was when Zhao Lingting passed away. After placing Zhao Xiukong in the Yankee Hall, a clan uncle hurried to meet him, saying, "God damn it. How could you be so seriously injured while helping Zhao Xiukong lie down and going to the back hall to get the elixir?" Zhao Xiuxuan saw someone busy, so he walked out, and suddenly heard Zhao Xiukong's voice, "Thank you, 13th brother." When he looked back, Zhao Xiukong still had dull eyes, and he tilted his head and stared at him with empty eyes. Zhao Xiuxuan returned to his cave, sat on a chair and pondered for a long time. No matter how he thought about it, he felt that the situation in the clan was not optimistic now. 3 months ago, Everyone was looking forward to Zhao Xiuxuan's success in building the foundation and continuing to move forward with the Zhao family. Unexpectedly. Now thinking carefully, Zhao Xiuxuan himself has extraordinary qualifications, and he has the help of the foundation building pill. Why did he fail in building the foundation? Is there any secret in this? After thinking for a long time, Zhao Xiuxuan sighed, now I am in the same boat with the Zhao family, and we are of the same blood. If the Zhao family falls, I, Zhao Xiuxuan, will become a rootless duckweed, and it is difficult for a single tree to support itself. This is the only rule in the world of immortal cultivation. Thinking of this, his heart seemed to be as heavy as a stone. After a moment, Zhao Xiuxuan's mind lit up, and he pointed his sword at his forehead. A bright skill panel appeared in front of him. Name, Zhao Xiuxuan. Lifespan, 25-93 years old. Root, ordinary, 10/100. Realm, 5th level of key refining. 33/100. Skill, Zhuangqinguang, 0. 88 out of 100. Remaining points, 0. Skills, spells, fireball, 0. 39/100. Luanbu, 1. 21/200. Rejuvenation, 0. 5/100. Talisman, Zhuangwu Talisman, 0. 89/100. Soul Detection Talisman, 0. 10/100. Martial Arts, 10 Sword Techniques, 0. 78 out of 100. This is the guarantee for him to settle down in this world. Chapter 3 Patriarch Summons. This skill panel came with Zhao Xiuxuan. It was from a game he played in his previous life, so he quickly understood the function of the panel. Lifespan, root bones, and realm are all the three major elements of his body. The technique is his main technique, Zhuangqinguang, the Zhao family's inherited technique. In the skills section, all the skills he has learned are reflected, including spells, talismans, and martial arts. As for other alchemy, formations, and other arts of cultivation, since the original body has never been exposed to them, there is no way to record them. The number after the skill represents the proficiency. For example, Luo Yanbu, 1. 21/200. This means that Zhao Xiuxuan has already upgraded the spell of Luo Yanbu once, so it is 1. Luo Yanbu, 0, and Luo Yanbu, 1, are incomparably powerful. This is why when he fought with Chu Shanfeng before, the ghostly steps even confused Chu Shanfeng, a late-stage cultivator. At the Luo Yanbu, 1, stage, his proficiency is 21, which means that if he completes 200 proficiency, he can upgrade again and enter the next stage. All the proficiency in the skill panel were upgraded from 0 since Zhao Xiuxuan came here. As for why he chose Luo Yanbu as the first skill to upgrade, it was because Luo Yanbu was relatively hidden and consumed the least mana, unlike Fireball, which required finding an open place to throw a fireball. It is worth mentioning that when any skill reaches a certain level of upgrade, 10 points will be stored as the remaining points, which can be used to improve the root bone or realm. He used the 10 points of the light body technique to improve his ordinary root bones, because root bones represent the speed of cultivation. If the root bones are better, his cultivation speed will be much faster, and the realm will be significantly improved. More importantly, according to his understanding of the game in his previous life, every time the root bones are upgraded to a certain level, he will get a series of ordinary luck, such as alchemy bonus, talisman bonus, spiritual plant bonus, fire bonus, ice bonus, etc., which can accelerate the proficiency of certain skills. Stronger ones have water spirit body, wind spirit body, etc., which directly increase spell damage, and there are powerful buffs such as magic tricks that can be similar to spell crits. In addition, there are also abnormal series of natural Taoist bones, sword heart holy body, reincarnation of Dangxin, true phoenix bloodline, etc., but these are rare and the probability is very low. The wonders of luck are more important than realm to some extent. Of course, improving realm is also an urgent matter. After fighting with Chu Shanfeng for a while, the proficiency of Luo Yanbu and Fireball technique has improved by 1 or 2 points. After this test, Luo Yanbu has been upgraded once, and even Chu Shanfeng, who is in the late stage of key refining, is a little confused in terms of body movement. The effect is obvious. For now, the proficiency of the Zhuangwu Talisman and the 10-style sword technique is close to full, so I will choose the next upgrade target from these two skills, Zhuangwu Talisman, 0. 89/100, 10-style sword technique, 78 out of 100. Of the two, the Xuanwu talisman is made of talismans. For Zhao Xiuxuan's current situation, the 10-style sword technique is obviously more appropriate. After making the decision, he opened the window to look at the night outside, and then sat cross-legged. In the posture of the 5 Ks converging to the origin, swallowing and breathing instead of sleeping to nourish his ki. Ki refining cultivators have not established their foundation, and they have not completely fasted for a day, so their essence and energy are not enough. They need to sit in meditation and breathe, or just lie down and sleep to replenish their ki, blood and spirit. Early in the morning of the second day, Zhao Xiuxuan, full of energy, picked up his sword and ran to the Xuanwu Peak dojo. Xuanwu Peak is the highest mountain in Chishan Mountain and also the main peak of Chishan Mountain. It was originally named Beiyang Peak. After the death of the ancestor, the second-generation clan leader, Zhao Xiuxiu, named the main peak after the ancestor Zhao Xuanwu. Not only that, Zhao Xiuxiu also set up clan rules at the time. Clan members who have achieved perfection in ki refining can become clan elders, and choose a peak in Chishan as their exclusive place for cultivation. So far, the Zhao family has 4 elders, Zhao Lingcheng, Zhao Lingquan, Zhao Duan, and Zhao Duxin, and each named a peak after them. Therefore, in addition to the main peak Xuanwu Peak, there are 4 other elder peaks, namely Lingcheng Peak, Lingquan Peak, Duan Peak, and Duxin Peak. According to the clan rules, the children of the Zhao family can live in any cave in the 5 peaks, but most of the clan members will choose a place to live according to their clan. For example, Zhao Xiuxuan's father is Zhao Dulian, and Zhao Dulian and Zhao Lingcheng are uncle and nephew of the direct clan, so Zhao Xiuxuan has lived in Lingcheng Peak since he was a child. Lingcheng Peak is close to Xuanwu Peak and is located on the east side of Chishan. Zhao Xiuxuan walked along the bluestone steps between the ridges of the 2 peaks, carrying a sword on his back. It was the time when the sun rose in the east, and the sea of clouds was surging, shining brightly. Along the way, he met many clan members. If they were elders, Zhao Xiuxuan would call them uncles, aunts, and so on. If they were of the same generation, he would call them brothers and sisters. He noticed that whether it was uncles or peers, they all looked dejected today, and thought to himself that the news that Zhao Xiukong's dancing was abolished yesterday had spread throughout Chishan. "Hey, nephew Xiukong, why do you have to do this?" Zhao Xiuxuan passed by a waterside pavilion, and under the roaring waterfall, he happened to meet several uncles who were discussing this matter. One of the uncles with a short gray beard and a Taoist bun on his head shook his head and felt sorry for Zhao Xiukong's behavior. Although Xiukong failed to build his foundation this time, at most he will have to recuperate for a few years, and after the dancing is repaired, he can raise his realm to the perfection of ki refining again. There is still hope to climb the foundation again in the future. Now, hey, Zhao Duju, what are you talking about? The Chu family insulted my Zhao family and cancelled my Zhao family's marriage in front of the big and small families in Nanshan. Who can bear this breath? If you want to say, nephew Xiukong did nothing wrong. If you want to blame, you can only blame the Chu family for bullying too much. Zhao Duju, don't be so indiscriminate just because you married the daughter-in-law of the Chu family. Another uncle seemed to be angry. Hearing this, he pointed at Zhao Duju and cursed him. Zhao Duju's face suddenly turned red, his teeth clenched, and he angrily retorted, "Seventh brother, what are you talking about? Shanmei has been married to the Zhao family for more than 30 years. She is frugal and has never been a bit of a traitor. What do you mean by this? Do you think that the girls from the Chu family married by our Zhao family, or the girls from the Zhao family married into the Chu family, should be slandered by you in such words for nothing?" The uncle called seventh brother knew that he had said something wrong and wanted to explain it, but because of his face, he could only narrow his eyes and ignore it. Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, others hurried to persuade him. There are still young people present. You two have lost face, haven't you? Seeing this, Zhao Xiuxuan had to go up and bow to all the uncles and aunts in a proper manner, and greeted them one by one. After being meddled by Zhao Xiuxuan and persuaded by others, seventh brother, who knew that what he said was inappropriate, apologized to Zhao Duju in a coy manner. The two chatted casually for a few more words, but still had some grudges in their hearts, and left unhappily. Zhao Xiuxuan, who was leaving, performed the lion step, and in a quarter of an hour, he arrived at the dojo. The Zhao family's martial arts dojo was actually an empty valley in Xuanwu Peak, paved with blue bricks and stones, which was very suitable for practicing various spells and martial arts. The Zhao family was not like the Chu family, who entered the Tao through martial arts. The disciples in the sect usually practiced spells and rarely practiced martial arts. Even the sword formula of the 10 styles of swordsmanship was very ordinary. It was said that it was obtained when the ancestor first established the clan, and the disciples swept through several bandits in the surrounding areas. Later, for some unknown reason, it was also put into the clan's treasure house. Of course, the 10 styles sword technique was actually improved by the second-generation clan leader. From the original warrior driving the acquired true key, it was changed to the cultivator's Danshan spiritual energy. It was a simple 10 moves, each move was a sword light like a snake. 10 moves together, the whole person was like a hedgehog, sending out sword lights, 1 or 2 feet in front of him, which was much more useful than the fireball technique. However, even so, in the entire martial arts dojo, the Zhao family's children practice mostly fireballs, wind-cutting techniques, and spirit bullet techniques. Most of these attack spells, even if they practiced swordsmanship, they mainly used the sword control technique to drive the flying sword. No moves were needed, as long as the sword in the hand was driven like an arm, and it was considered a master. Therefore, Zhao Xiuxuan's behavior of practicing the 10 styles sword technique one by one in the dojo was criticized by some clan members. He didn't care. There are 3,000 great ways, each with its own uses. Once this sword technique is practiced to a certain level, it can be said to be a perfect match with his Loyan step. At this stage, if the firepower is not enough to suppress the enemy, then he can fight in close combat and kill the enemy at close range. This is the lesson he learned from the simple battle with Chu Shanfan. After practicing the 10 styles of sword technique for 2 hours, Zhao Xiuxuan opened the skill panel and was surprised to find that the 10 styles of sword technique had changed from the original 10 styles of sword technique, 0. 78 out of 100, to 10 styles of sword technique, 0. 82/100. After 1 hour, he actually gained 4 points of proficiency. It seems that if he works hard today, he can still upgrade a level. Zhao Xiuxuan was overjoyed and quickly closed the skill panel and began to practice the sword. The sword energy was crisscrossed, and the green light was swallowing and spitting. Another half hour passed in a flash. At this moment, a servant in green clothes suddenly ran to the dojo. Seeing Zhao Xiuxuan practicing sword, he was immediately surprised and ran to Zhao Xiuxuan to greet him. "What's the matter?" Zhao Xiuxuan retracted the cold green sword in his hand, and said in surprise, "Brother, the clan leader wants to see you. I hope you can go to the ancestral hall as soon as possible. The clan leader wants to see me." Zhao Xiuxuan frowned, unable to think of what it was. Chapter 4, Dead Sea Monster Hunter. The Zhao family ancestral hall is located on the top of Xuanwu Peak, behind the main hall. Zhao Xiuxuan stood in front of 2 huge stone statues of dragons and turtles and pondered for a while. As far as he could remember, the clan leader had never summoned him alone. He didn't know what the matter was this time, but he had a vague feeling that it was related to the incident with Chu Shanfeng yesterday. After walking through the long corridor and bowing outside the door in accordance with the clan rules, Zhao Xiuxuan stepped into the ancestral hall. In the huge hall, on the long tables of varying heights on the left and right, there were eternal lamps that had been burning for 100 years. Facing him was a huge portrait hanging directly opposite. In the painting, a man in a green Taoist robe, standing on a dragon turtle, lowering his eyebrows, looking at it with a dignified manner and fluttering clothes, was the ancestor of the Zhao family, Zhao Xuanwu. Under the portrait of the ancestor, rows of spirit tablets stood according to seniority, like arrows in a bag, standing under the ancestor, just waiting for the ancestor to draw his bow and shoot. These are all the members of the Zhao family who have passed away since the founding of the family. Whether they are monks or ordinary people, they all have names and surnames. Among them, Zhao Xiuxuan's father, Zhao Julian, is among them. At this time, there are already several people standing in the ancestral hall, but no one speaks, just looking at Zhao Xiuxuan solemnly. It was not until Zhao Xiuxuan also had a solemn look and said, "I am an unworthy descendant." Zhao Xiuxuan, after burning incense and kneeling in front of the portrait of the ancestor and many spirit tablets, someone helped him up with the courtesy of an elder. The one who helped him up was the patriarch Zhao Lingting. Just a few feet away from where Zhao Xiuxuan knelt, there was also a young member of the family who touched his forehead to the ground and knelt for a long time. Zhao Xiuxuan looked at him from the corner of his eye. He seemed a bit like Zhao Xiuxuan, who was seriously injured yesterday. In addition to Zhao Lingting and the man who looked like Zhao Xiukong, there was another patriarch next to him, who was Zhao Xiuxuan, one of the four elders. Zhao Xiuxuan bowed his hands one by one. Patriarch, fourth elder. The two nodded slightly to show courtesy. After the greeting, Zhao Lingting said with a pleasant face, Xiuxuan, if I remember correctly, you are the grandson of Lingcheng. Your father is, Zhao Xiuxuan said respectfully, my father's name is Dulian, and he is from the elder line of Lingcheng, Zhao Dulian. Zhao Lingting looked back at the many spirit tablets, and there was a spirit tablet with white characters on a black background that read, the spirit of the unworthy descendant Zhao Dulian. At that time, Zhao Xiuxuan was still young and could not set up a spirit tablet for his father, so they were all set up according to the rules of the clan. Zhao Lingting frowned, as if he thought of something, and the worry on his face became a little heavier. After a while, he asked Zhao Xiuxuan as if nothing had happened, Xiuxuan, do you know why I called you here? Zhao Xiuxuan shook his head and said he didn't know. Zhao Lingting asked directly, did you fight with the people from the Chu family yesterday? Zhao Xiuxuan was stunned and thought to himself that it was indeed related to what happened yesterday. He did not dare, nor did he need to hide anything, so he directly explained what happened yesterday in detail. When Zhao Lingting and Zhao Xiuxuan heard Zhao Xiuxuan say that he had fought with Chu Shanfeng, who was in the late stage of key refining, for a while with Loi Anbu, they were a little surprised. They used the detection method to detect Zhao Xiuxuan's cultivation. Zhao Xiuxuan did not resist and let the two elders look him up and down. You are at the 5th level of key refining, but you can fight with Chu Shanfeng, who is in the late stage of key refining, for a cup of tea with just your body skills. No wonder Chu Shanfeng specifically asked you to go. Chu Shanfeng specifically asked me to go. Zhao Xiuxuan's heart skipped a beat, not knowing what he had gotten himself into. Zhao Lingting did not keep him in suspense, and directly told him the reason why he was summoned today. Time goes back to the night before. After Zhao Xiuxuan and several young clansmen left with Zhao Xiukong, Zhao Lingting said, I'm not dead yet. Chu Yazi can't hold back anymore. Chu Shanfeng laughed and replied, Uncle, you and I both know about this. Aunt Yazi is also in a difficult situation. Why do you say that? If it weren't for Aunt Yazi's obstruction, I'm afraid the head of my Chu family would have attacked Chishan with a wave of his hand. After saying this, Zhao Lingting's face darkened, and then he asked expressionlessly, who did the Zhikwang incident? Chu Shanfeng shook his head. No matter who did it, it was all done by our Chu family. There is no difference. My uncle must know that attacking the Mountain Gate's protective formation without authorization is a taboo in the world of immortal cultivation. If it weren't for Aunt Yazi's intervention at the last moment, Zhao Xiuquang's life would have been of no use even if he died on Wutuang Mountain. My Chu family is on the right side of this matter. I came here to tell the head of my Chu family about the compensation request for Zhao Xiuquang's attack on my Wutuang Mountain 6 absolute array. I hope my uncle will consider it carefully when he goes back. Oh, the Chu family has another request. Zhao Lingting's voice was cold and no emotion could be heard. Chu Shanfeng didn't even bother to look at his expression. He raised 2 fingers and said one by one, first, the spirit stones consumed in activating the Wutuang Mountain 6 Absolute's formation must be compensated with 100 spirit stones. Either spirit stones or the equivalent Zuanwu talismans will do. Second, the Zhao family must have an explanation for attacking the Chu family's Mountain Gate. The incident started with young disciples and should end with young disciples. 2 months later, the Chu family will send several clansmen to the Dead Sea to hunt a golden-feathered blue bird, and the Zhao family will send 3 young clansmen who are at least at the 5th level of key refining to assist in hunting the monster. If the Zhao family doesn't have this sincerity, I will come in person to seek justice for the attack on the Chu family. These are the original words of the head of the family. After Chu Shanfeng finished speaking, he glanced at Zhao Lingting and added the last sentence. This is too much? The Dead Sea monsters are rampant and extremely dangerous. Your Chu family's King Lungguang needs to be improved with the essence of the blue bird to prepare for the future foundation building. This matter is of great use to your Chu family, and there is nothing wrong with it. But for us Zhao family members, it is not worth it to accompany you into danger for nothing. Zhao Duan was furious and said with indignation on his face. Or do you want to use the monsters in the Dead Sea to kill my people? As he said that, the flying sword in his storage bag flew out again, turning into a green light and hovering in front of him. Zhao Lingting scolded, Duan, Don't lose the etiquette of my Zhao family in front of outsiders. Put away the magic weapon. Zhao Xiuxuan glanced at Zhao Lingting, then gritted his teeth and took back his flying sword magic weapon for the second time. His eyes were bloodshot, and there was a sound of chewing teeth in his mouth. Zhao Lingting's eyes were still as calm as the abyss, and no fluctuations could be seen. He said to Chu Shanfeng, "What did Chu Yuzi say?" Chu Shanfeng glanced at him, and for some reason, he felt more and more terrified by his calm face. In addition, under Chu Yuzi's reputation, his attitude unconsciously lowered a little. Aunt Yuzi said that there is another hidden story at this time, and tried to be as considerate as possible. Zhao Lingting heard this and agreed without saying a word. In this case, in a month, my Zhao family will select 3 juniors to meet at Wutong Mountain. That's great. Chu Shanfeng also breathed a sigh of relief, and then suddenly remembered something. The junior named Zhao Xiuxuan who just left has great physical skills. If possible, Uncle can send him to Wutong Mountain. Chapter 5 Pre-Departure Planning. Hunting monsters in the Dead Sea. Zhao Xiuxuan had a blank expression on his face, secretly complaining in his heart. According to his own plan, he had a plug-in like a skill panel, and he stayed in the mountains honestly to improve himself. He would have a chance to make a breakthrough. He never thought that an impulsive action yesterday would be called out by Chu Shanfeng. He wanted to refuse, but he had no reason to refuse. Although he didn't know the twists and turns, he keenly felt that at this critical juncture when the undercurrents of the Chu and Zhao families were surging, hunting monsters together was definitely not an easy thing. In a month, Elder Du Xian will take you, Xiu Yan, and Xiu Ming to Wutong Mountain together. Although monsters are rampant in the Dead Sea, with the cultivation of the 3 of you, there is no danger if you are only on the periphery. You should pay attention to whether the people of the Chu family have evil intentions. However, I will write a letter to Chu Yuzi, the foundation building elder of the Chu family, and he will take care of you in this matter. Before you set off, the clan will also provide each of you with a storage bag, 10 Zuanwu talismans, several spirit shield talismans, and fireball talismans, which are the rewards given to you in advance by the clan. Zhao Lingting finished his words here, feeling a little tired. He glanced at Zhao Xiukong, who was still kneeling for a long time, and said to him, "Xiukong, Xiuxuan saved your life yesterday, and this matter is also considered a risk for you. Since you want to worship your ancestors for a long time, then pray for Xiuxuan, Xiuyan, and Ziming." Zhao Xiukong, who was motionless, seemed to be a little flustered when he heard this. His body trembled, and then he crouched lower. Zhao Xiuxuan was not encouraged, but felt quite sad. After leaving the ancestral hall, Zhao Xiuxuan immediately made a decision. Improve your strength quickly. For this, he thought hard. For cultivators, the best way to improve their strength is to improve their realm. The 5th and 6th levels of key refining, each promotion will increase the purity of mana a lot. The improvement of mana purity will be of great benefit to using spells to suppress firepower or performing escape techniques to escape. However, his current key refining level is only key refining level 5. 41/100, if he simply relies on proficiency to convert into points, he needs 59 points. Assuming that every 10 points represents the full proficiency of a skill, he needs to complete the proficiency of 4 skills in just 1 month. Currently, his proficiency is close to full, including Zuan Wufu, 0. 89/100, 10 styles of sword technique, 0. 83/100, Zuan Qingguang, 0. 88 out of 100. At present, these 3 are easy to break through, but they are only 30 points. Zhao Xiuxuan regretted adding the 10 points of Luo Yanbu to his root bone. If he had added them to his realm, it would be almost the same. But it was useless to regret it now. Since it's too late to improve my realm, is there any other way? Skills. What skills can quickly improve my strength? 10 sword techniques? Fireball technique? I plan to upgrade these by 1 level within a month, but they probably won't be of much use. What I need is a way to protect myself. A way to protect myself. Zhao Xiuxuan frowned, and suddenly a light flashed through his mind. He focused his sight on Luo Yanbu, 1. 21/200. When Luo Yanbu was upgraded once, I was able to fight with Chu Shanfeng, who is in the late stage of key refining, for a period of time without being defeated. Although it was because he let me win, it also showed that the improvement of my body skills was good for me. If I upgrade it by 1 more level, wouldn't it be just right for this monster hunt? If there's any emergency, I can still run away, Having made up his mind, Zhao Xiuxuan decided to make the improvement of Luo Yanbu the top priority of this month. After closing the skill panel, he immediately performed Luo Yanbu, rushed out of the door in high spirits, and ran outside like a stream of black smoke. One night, two beautiful women from Lingcheng Peak were walking on the road, wearing thin, close-fitting clothes and holding lanterns that flickered, looking around. One of them looked at the hazy night and a moon halo, and suddenly seemed to remember something, and said to the woman holding a lantern next to her, Xiuyan, have you heard? Our Lingcheng Peak has been haunted by ghosts in the past half-month. The woman called Xiuyan already felt a little creepy on her back due to the breeze in the mountains. When she heard this, her heart skipped a beat and her body stiffened a lot, but she was still unwilling to show her shyness. She calmed herself down and said boldly, hey, you and I are both cultivators. In the secular world, we are already immortal masters. Why are we afraid of ghosts? Besides, we have a mountain protection formation in Chishan, so no ghosts can get in. Seeing that she didn't believe it, the woman who had just spoken added in a vivid manner, Xiuyan, don't disbelieve it. I just heard about it during the day. Someone encountered it at night and asked what it looked like. The person said he didn't see it clearly. He just felt a black wind blowing past, and a human-shaped phantom with fangs and claws flashed by. The brave brothers chased after it, but didn't catch up. The woman shrank her head as she spoke, and she wanted to look to the side but didn't dare. She could only stare at the lantern in Zhao Xiuxuan's hand without blinking. The dim light seemed to give her a little courage. You're so scared, but it's a good thing you want to go to the toilet. As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly felt a black wind passing by her side, and a human-shaped shadow flew away in the moonlight. The backs of the two people immediately became numb and their necks stiffened. Pa! The lantern in her hand fell to the ground with a sound, and the string in the man's heart seemed to be broken, and he screamed a ghost. Then he closed his eyes and ran away. Zhao Xiuxuan had no choice but to hide in a tree on the side. Seeing that they did not fall down the mountain in panic, but ran into the cave after running for a while, he was relieved. This is the third time I've scared people in the past half-month. It seems that it's better not to practice this lion step at night. After muttering, he turned into ghostly black smoke again and left with a few virtual jumps. Until all his magic power was exhausted, the black smoke under his feet dissipated, and he stopped, sat on the ground, and started to practice Zhuangshengong. At this time, he took out a bottle of pills from a small jade bag hanging on his waist. This jade bag was the storage bag given to him by the clan, which he had received in advance. Along with the bag, there were 10 Zhuangwu talismans, 10 Tujia talismans, 10 fireball talismans, and a bottle of Huling pill, which could be swallowed to restore a small part of his magic power during the battle. 3 hours later, the sky was gradually turning pale. The last cycle of Zhuangbiangguang was completed. Zhao Xiuxuan suddenly felt a burst of mysterious sound entering his head. He was very familiar with this feeling. He opened the skill panel and saw that, as expected, skill, Zhuangbiangguang, 1:0/200, the skill panel had changed to, name, Zhao Xiuxuan, lifespan, 2593 years old, root bone, mediocre, 10/100, realm, 5th level of key refining, 43/100, skill, Zhuangbiangguang, 1:0/200, remaining points, 10, skills, spells, fireball, 0, 47/100, Luo Yanbu, 182/200, rejuvenation, 0, 5/100, talisman, Zhuangwu talisman, 0, 89/100, soul exploration talisman, 0, 10/100, martial arts, 10 sword techniques, 1:02/200, the previous 10 sword techniques had already been upgraded, and the 10 points gained were also added to the realm. With a realm upgrade gained through the practice of Zhuangshengong, the realm at this time has reached 43 out of 100. In addition to the gradual improvement in realm, the upgrade of the 10 sword techniques has also greatly increased strength. Originally, the sword energy and green light combined with the arm palm could chop melons and vegetables within 2 feet, but now within 3 feet, the sword energy can penetrate rocks. Combined with the lion step, it is now his great ghostly killer move. I don't know what effect the upgrade of Zhuangshengong will bring. Chapter 6 Heading to Wutuang Mountain. Zhao Xiuxuan looked at the sky and saw that it was already light. He sat cross-legged on the road on the ridge. If someone came to see him, It would be unsightly. His mana had recovered at this time, so he started to practice lion step again and ran back to the cave like a gust of wind. He closed the door and could not wait to gather the 3 flowers at the top of his head and practice the advanced Zhuangshengong. After 6 hours, he opened his eyes in surprise. The 100 cycles that originally took 8 hours to complete now only took 6 hours. The speed of cultivation was much faster. Let's look at the realm, 5th level of key refining. 44/100, the realm that had not moved for a long time actually increased by 1 point. The speed of cultivation obviously improved. While the Zhao family members were still struggling with the gradual exhaustion of the Qishan spiritual vein, which led to the speed of cultivation being stuck in the quagmire, Zhao Xiuxuan's speed of cultivation did not decrease but increased. How could it not be a great thing? Zhao Xiuxuan excitedly walked several circles in the room before he calmed down. Looking at the 10 points gained from the upgrade of Zhuangtianguang, he added them to his realm without hesitation. Suddenly, a stream of heat from Danshan jumped to all the tendons, meridians and acupoints. Realm, key refining level 5. 54 out of 100, he has already passed the halfway point of key refining level 5, and there is hope for a breakthrough to level 6. There are still a few days, and Luo Yanbu must be upgraded again. Gurgle, Zhao Xiuxuan's stomach rumbled. He was hungry, so he hurried to the clan dining hall to get 3 servings of spiritual rice porridge. Just as he sat down and prepared to feast on it, he suddenly heard his peers whispering about him. It's him, Zhao Xiuxuan. Have you heard about it? Yes, Zhao Xiuxuan, Zhao Xiuyan, and Zhao Ziming. These 3 will represent the Zhao family to hunt monsters in the Dead Sea. Hunting monsters, someone was indignant. There is no such thing as hunting monsters. I think the Chu family is hunting our Zhao family's children. As he said that, the man stood up, strode to Zhao Xiuxuan, and bowed. Brother Xiuxuan, I am Zhao Xiuxuan from the lineage of Elder Lingquan. Zhao Xiuxuan put down the bowl of spiritual rice porridge. He looked solemn and quite surprised, but according to etiquette, he still stood up to greet him. Brother Xiuxuan, what's the matter? Zhao Xiuxuan suddenly hesitated. Just when Zhao Xiuxuan was wondering, he suddenly took out a bottle of pills from his arms and handed it to Zhao Xiuxuan. Brother Xiuxuan, this is half a bottle of Hulang pills. Swallowing it can quickly restore little magic power. The Dead Sea is extremely dangerous. I only have this Hulang pill, which can help Brother Xiuxuan. As he said, he stuffed half a bottle of Hulang pills into Zhao Xiuxuan's hand without saying anything, and then turned and left. Several people suddenly stood up in the dining hall, took out a few talismans from their arms, or the same bottle of pills, and placed them in front of Zhao Xiuxuan. We are from the same lineage of Elder Lingquan. 2 fireball talismans, please accept them. Brother, from the lineage of Elder Lingquan, half a bottle of Huchan pills can heal injuries. My grandfather's name is Zhao Lingayu. I have 3 Shangxing talismans. In a short while, the table in front of Zhao Xiuxuan was filled with various objects, mostly pills, talismans, and other auxiliary items. Zhao Xiuxuan was silent for a long time, looked at the young faces in the dining hall, smiled, bowed to the tribesmen, and then unceremoniously cleared the things on the table, put them into the storage bag, gulped down the remaining bowl of spiritual rice porridge, and then hurried away. In the next few days, Zhao Xiuxuan found an uninhabited valley in Qishan, turned into a wisp of light smoke, and devoted himself to the practice of Lianbu day and night. Early in the morning of the 8th day of July, a wild rabbit in the valley secretly showed its head from the hole, looking around to see if the human had left. In the past few days, the valley has become a forbidden place for wild animals. A phantom ran around in the valley with smoke under its feet, and it had not come out to relieve itself for several days. Today, I couldn't help it. Seeing that there was no movement outside, I poked my head out to take a look, but I didn't see the figure of that person. Still not at ease, it turned its furry head around the hole, until it still didn't find anything outside. Then it crept out, looked around cautiously, found a bush, and happily started to poop. However, it still felt uneasy, as if something was watching it from behind, but when it turned back suddenly, it saw nothing. After it finished pooping in a hurry, the hare hopped towards the hole, scanning the surroundings with its eyes while running, and suddenly looking back from time to time. However, it still didn't find anything until half of its body had entered the hole, and then it felt much more at ease. Seeing that it could soon shrink back into the rabbit hole, it took a whim to look outside. Suddenly, a huge human face was right next to its nose. This horrible scene scared it so much that its hair stood up, its legs went weak, and it slid directly into the hole, digging the soil frantically, vowing that from now on, it would never appear in this valley again. Zhao Xiuxuan laughed when he saw that he had successfully scared a hare. At this time, he was covered in dust, and his hair was still covered with leaves. He looked very sloppy, but he was very happy because Luo Yanbu had been upgraded again, becoming Luo Yanbu 2.01/400. After upgrading twice, his Luo Yanbu was elusive, stepping on the light smoke and following the hare behind, and the hare could not detect it at all. Of course, there is still a gap between the hare and the cultivator, but it can also indirectly show that Luo Yanbu 2 has infinite uses. What is even more surprising is that the second upgrade of Luo Yanbu did not get 10 points, but 20 points. After all the points were invested in the realm, the original realm, key refining level 5. 54 out of 100, became realm, key refining level 5. 74/100. This is undoubtedly good news, and the future is promising. Today is the day to go to Wutuang Mountain. Zhao Xiuxuan first went back to the cave to clean himself up, changed into long green gauze, and then ran to the door of the family hall like a gust of wind. At the door of the hall, Zhao Xiuan and Zhao Xiuming were already waiting. Zhao Xiuan wore a green Confucian skirt and a pair of buns on her head, looking cute and playful. Zhao Xiuming was a burly man with thick eyebrows and big eyes, looking like a raging King Kong. The green long gauze on his body made him look bulging. Both of them had a green cloud-patterned storage bag hanging around their waists, which must have been the rewards given by the tribe for this mission. Zhao Xiuxuan was the last to arrive, and he bowed to the two of them. Only then did he realize that Zhao Xiuan was one of the two tribe members who had been frightened that night. However, Zhao Xiuan did not see his true face, so she did not realize that the ghost who had made them feel uneasy for several nights was the person in front of her. Brother Xiuxuan Zhao Xiuan was lively and smiling, and took the initiative to wave her white and tender hands to greet him. Zhao Xiuming was a little depressed and nodded. Seeing that the three of them had arrived, the tribe leader Zhao Lingting and the elder Xiuxuan, who had already dressed in green clothes, walked out of the hall. Xiuming, Xiuxuan, Xiuan, I have already told each of you about the dangers of this mission, so I will not say more. Among the three of you, Xiuming is at the 6th level of key refining and is also practicing the Vajra Sutra. He can be the leader of this mission, and Xiuxuan and Xiuan can be the assistants. It's getting late, you should set off. The three looked at each other and bowed to the clan leader. Please recommend, collect, and read. Chapter 7 Chulan Fei. 3 days later, in the eastern part of Nanshan County, Wutuang Mountain. 10 miles of Wutuang trees, spiritual birds interweave. Outside the gate of Wutuang Mountain, there stands a gatehouse with 6 huge red pillars. On it are 4 gold-plated characters, Wutuang Immortal Gate. A carriage drove from outside the mountain. When it arrived at the gate of Wutuang Mountain, an old man in green clothes came out of the carriage. It was Elder Xiuxuan. Then, several people came out of the carriage. They were Zhao Xiuan, Zhao Xiuxuan, and Zhao Xiuming. This is Wutuang Mountain. Sure enough, there are many Wutuang trees. I heard that the Chu family uses the phoenix as a totem, and the phoenix likes to live in Wutuang trees, so there are many Wutuang trees in Wutuang Mountain. Zhao Xiuan nodded his head and praised Wutuang Mountain like a yellow bird as soon as he got off the carriage. Well, Zhao Xiuming said in a dull voice in response. He is strong, but not good at speaking. From Chishan to Wutuang Mountain. The carriage drove for 3 days, and Zhao Xiuxuan also practiced Zhuanshan Guang for 3 days. Under the archway at Wutuang Mountain, 2 Chu family members dressed as guards stood proudly, looking down at the Zhao family. Who is coming to my Wutuang Immortal Gate? The front is the border of my Chu family's 6 absolutes formation. Do not trespass. The 2 guards only looked like they were at the 2nd or 3rd level of key refining, but their faces were full of arrogance. Xiuxuan stepped forward and said calmly, the Zhao family of Chishan, Xiuxuan, bring 3 clansmen to pay homage to the mountain. Zhao family, the Zhao family that rushed into my 6 absolutes formation. The first sentence was said by the Chu family guards, and the second sentence was said by a black-clothed male cultivator who flew over from the mountain. This male cultivator had a halberd-like beard and glared at the Zhao family. How dare you? You dare to come? As he said this, he pointed his hand and 3 fire fingers came towards them. Elder Duxin stepped forward and stopped the three young people of the Zhao family behind him. With a wave of his hand, a spiritual energy shield protected the surroundings. Bang, 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 the fire finger flicked on the spiritual energy shield, making a crisp sound. Zhao Xiuxuan, this is the Zhao family's way of entertaining guests. Elder Duxian obviously knew the person in front of him. Zhao Xiuxuan, whose beard was like a halberd, narrowed his eyes and pretended to be enlightened. Ha, who am I? It turns out to be Taoist friend Zhao Xiuxuan. Ah, sorry, I just remembered that it was the head of the family who invited me. I thought the Zhao family came to the door. Taoist friend Duxin, we haven't seen each other for several years. I have a bad memory. Don't blame me. Zhao Xiuxuan pretended to greet Zhao Xiuxuan for a few words, and then looked at Zhao Xiuxuan and the other two. These three young talents are the ones you brought to the Dead Sea to hunt monsters. Not bad, they are all dragons among men. Come on, you two, quickly take these talents of the Zhao family to the Luan Palace. After speaking, he bowed and apologized. Taoist friend Duxin, I have something to do, so I'll go first. As he spoke, he leaped and disappeared into the dense forest of wutong trees. Zhao Xiuxuan and the others were stunned by the coming and going. But everyone understood that this was to show off their power. Please, everyone, with Zhao Xiuxuan's order, one of the guards walked out and led them across the gatehouse, along the steps, to a group of palaces on the mountain. The Zhao family considered themselves to be a secular royal family. The palaces they built on Wutong Mountain were all magnificent, with carved beams and painted buildings, red eaves and red pillars, and gilded beasts. White jade steps, the ground was paved with carved tiles. The men in the family all wore neat two-layer King Luongsuan clothes inside and outside, with their hair tied up, dressed like a nobleman, and the women mostly wore palace clothes with peach-red gauze skirts, with flying fairy buns or cloud buns on their heads. Zhao Xiuxuan and his companions walked 3 miles from the mountain gate, and it seemed like they had arrived at a secular palace, with young men and ladies dressed up everywhere. Compared with the Zhao family's dress, the Zhao family's long blue gown was much simpler. Along the long palace wall, the 4 members of the Zhao family, led by several members of the Zhao family who were also dressed as guards, walked towards the hall. At this time, a group of young men and women dressed in gorgeous clothes and carrying swords came towards them. Seeing Zhao Xiuxuan and the others, a man in black clothes suddenly had a cold light in his eyes. He stopped them carelessly and said, "But we are from the Zhao family." Very good. Last time, my Wutong Mountain 6 Absolute Formation was attacked by your clansmen. I was thinking of going to Chishan to seek justice, but I didn't expect you to come to my door. As he said this, the boy pinched his fingers and a fire lotus hung above his head. Zhao Xiuxuan had a mild temper and was able to keep his composure. He was the most cautious and rational person in the clan except for the clan leader. However, as an elder of the clan, he was ignored by the Zhao family again and again in front of the younger generation, and his face could not help but turn cold. Before he could make any move, a beautiful and gorgeous woman in palace clothes next to him suddenly raised her hand to stop the man in black clothes who was about to attack. The woman had a cinnabar on her forehead, and her breasts were as white as snow. When the man in black saw the woman in palace dress step forward, he extinguished the fire lotus on his head and glanced coldly at Zhao Xiuxuan and the others. The woman in palace dress stepped forward and bowed to Zhao Xiuxuan. I didn't know that Elder Duxin had come from so far away. I apologize for not welcoming you in person, Lanfei. Zhao Xiuxuan's eyes moved, and he glanced at the woman in front of him curiously. This is Zhao Lanfei, the heroine of the Zhao family's broken engagement. I have heard that this woman is extremely talented and is no less talented than Zhao Xiukong. Not only that, she is also extremely beautiful, but her temperament is as proud as an orchid. Where are you looking, kid? Zhao Xiuxuan's curiosity about Zhao Lanfei seemed to have angered the man in black who had just stopped them. He waved his hand to hide him, but was stopped by Zhao Lanfei. Zhao Lanfei didn't even look at Zhao Xiuxuan. After exchanging a few words with Zhao Xiuxuan, she left with a group of people. Seeing the black-clothed boy staring at him with a cold knife-like gaze, Zhao Xiuxuan thought to himself. It is true that when you are at home, disaster will come from the sky. Thinking of this, Zhao Xiuxuan looked back and saw Zhao Lanfei's pretty back swaying and disappearing around the corner. Cousin Lanfei, why did you stop me just now? The black-clothed man reversed his strong attitude towards Zhao Xiuxuan and others, looked at Zhao Lanfei with gentle eyes and said, last time, Zhao Xiukong dared to attack our Wutong Fairy Mountain, And what's more hateful is that he treated you so rudely. I must vent this anger for you." Chu Lanfei frowned slightly, as if she was very uncomfortable when she heard Zhao Xiuquang's name. Zhao Xiuquang's matter has passed. This time, several people from the Zhao family are going to accompany us to the Dead Sea to hunt golden-winged bluebirds. If you go up and cause trouble, not only will it not increase the momentum of my Chu family, but it will make people think that our Chu family's inheritance of more than 300 years is full of rude people." Chu Lanfei spoke very impolitely, and her words were quite disdainful of the man's behavior. The man's face froze, and he looked at the other clan members behind him, who dared not look at him, and could only smile and say, "My cousin is right." I don't know what the clan members think. They insist on dragging the Zhao family into this. He lowered his head, and a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. "Thank you for your support. Please recommend, collect, and comment. The second chapter will be released at noon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Summoning. Zhenlun Hall, the main hall of the Chu family. Golden roof and red door, pearls and jades, amber wine, jasper cups, gold-footed jars, bronze lampposts and black fire in the hall. But the whole palace is empty, except for an old man with white hair and a youthful face sitting cross-legged on the golden and jade steps at the top, wearing a black robe with gold edges and 2 green phoenixes embroidered on it. The head of the Chu family, Chu Zhenyu. A cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building. Zhao Xiuxuan took the lead and bowed his hands and said, "Zhao Xiuxuan of the Zhao family, I pay my respects to the head of the Chu family." Chu Zhenyu opened his eyes slightly and said in a cold voice, "Zhao Lingting didn't come. The head of the family has been in seclusion for many days and has not come out yet. He can't come, so I asked Duxin to apologize to the head of the Chu family." "Oh?" Chu Zhenyu's face was expressionless, and his eyes swept over Zhao Ziming, Zhao Xiuyan, and Zhao Xiuxuan. "It's fine if he doesn't come, but what does he have to say about Zhao Xiuquang's attack on my mountain gate?" Zhao Xiuxuan replied respectfully, "Zhao Xiukong, the unfilial son of the Zhao family, has been ordered by the clan leader to be confined for 30 years for colliding with the Chu family's mountain gate. He is not allowed to leave the mountain. The marriage between Zhao Xiuquang and Chu Lanfei is naturally invalidated. According to the request made by the Chu clan leader, I brought 100 Zhuangwu talismans today, equivalent to 130 spirit stones, to compensate for the loss of the 6 absolutes formation, and to select 3 from the younger generation to assist the Chu family's children in hunting monsters in the Dead Sea." As he spoke, Zhao Xiuxuan respectfully took out a storage bag. The storage bag flew to Chu Zhenyu's side, and he didn't even look at it. Since the Zhao family is so sincere, then just treat it as a child of the Zhao family acting rashly. After speaking, he waved his hand, and an elegant middle-aged man in green clothes and wearing a crown and scarf walked out from somewhere in the hall. "Yuju, take the Zhao family to live in Jingxin Courtyard, and set off for the Dead Sea tomorrow." Chu Yuju bowed his hands and said yes, then smiled and bowed to Zhao Xiuxuan and said, "Please follow me." Following Chu Yuju, the few people passed through pavilions and towers, and lived in a quiet courtyard with just 4 small houses. There was also a huge old sycamore tree in the courtyard. "If you need anything, you can come to Kingxin Pavilion where you just passed by to find me at any time." Chu Yuju treated the Zhao family members politely, and the few people hurriedly responded with courtesy. "Brother Yuju, please do as you please, we will do whatever you want." Zhao Xiuxuan talked to him for a few words, and then Chu Yuju nodded to the 4 people in a gentle manner, waved his sleeves and left. The Chu family is too bullying. Brother Xiuquang is so miserable, and it seems that our Zhao family owes them the Chu family. Seeing the Chu family leave, Zhao Xiuyan, who had been holding back a lot of anger, said angrily. Although Zhao Ziming was dull, he was the most respectful. He quickly pushed her and said, "The elder is here, don't be rude." Zhao Xiuxuan waved his hands behind the 3 people, not knowing what he was thinking. Zhao Xiuxuan hesitated for a moment, walked up and said, "Elder, in your opinion, will the Chu family have any tricks in this Dead Sea monster hunting?" Zhao Xiuxuan pondered for a moment, shook his head to avoid the question, and said a few words from the heart to the few people. "Remember, the Chu family wants to swallow up our Zhao family. Everyone knows it. There are countless families, big and small, in Nanshan County. Although they are called families, their Taoist traditions are far less than those of our Zhao family. The ancestor founded the Zhao family with a golden elixir. Although the ancestor used most of his wealth to exchange for the Zhao family when it was first established, the Taoist treasures of foundation building and even the golden elixir he left behind are not few. In addition, our Zhao family has hundreds of acres of spiritual fields and the production method of the black tortoise talisman. It is a crime to possess a treasure, and has long been coveted by the wolves. But do you know why the Zhao family has survived all these years? Zhao Xiuxuan had actually analyzed these situations a long time ago, and blurted out at this time, because of the Chu family. He paused, then said, and the Li family. Zhao Xiuxuan looked at him in surprise, then nodded seriously. That's right, I didn't expect that there would be a younger generation in the clan who could see so far. Zhao Xiuan and Zhao Xiuming were listening in confusion. Elder, brother Xiuxuan, what are you talking about? Zhao Xiuxuan laughed, without explaining, and went on to say, the immortal cultivation families in Nanshan County are not good people. Since the two foundation-building ancestors, Zhao Baoxiu and Zhao Baoshan, passed away more than 30 years ago, the most fundamental reason why our Zhao family can still survive is because the Chu family has long regarded us as forbidden food, half protecting and half stalking us, and not allowing other families to make decisions on their own. And all these years, the reason why the Chu family has not taken action themselves is for two reasons. The first is the Li family in King Mountain. 100 years ago, the Li family had 3 foundation-building cultivators, and even an ancestor in the late foundation-building period survived. Among the 3 families of Chu, Zhao and Li, the power is undoubtedly the strongest. After the death of the ancestor, the Li family began to expand vigorously. First, they wiped out several small families around them, gathered spiritual veins, and developed themselves. Gradually, they threatened the Chu and Zhao families. It was not until Chu and Zhao got married and joined forces to fight against Li that the situation was stabilized. Although the ancestor of the Li family has passed away, correspondingly, the family has a new young foundation-building cultivator, Li Chaoyan. The Li family still has a vicious heart and doesn't want to see the Chu family swallow up my Zhao family's Daozang, so they have been obstructing it. This is the first time that Zhao Xiuxuan has heard these things so specifically and in detail. Some of his previous doubts were easily figured out. The 3 families of Chu, Zhao and Li have been fighting each other from the beginning, then Chu and Zhao have united, and now Chu wants to swallow Zhao, but Li doesn't allow it. It's a live drama of the 3 kingdoms, but what is the second reason? As for the second reason, Elder Duxin seemed to know what Zhao Xiuxuan was thinking, and said slowly. At this time, footsteps were heard outside the courtyard. Several people looked in silence. A maid in palace dress came slowly with lotus steps, and her watery eyes swept over several people. Then she bowed to them and said, I don't know who is Mr. Zhao Xiuxuan. My master wants to see you, looking for me. Zhao Xiuxuan was stunned. Zhao Xiuxuan asked cautiously, I don't know who your master is. The master is Elder Yazi of the Chu family. The maid in palace dress answered his doubts. Zhao Xiuxuan breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Zhao Xiuxuan curiously. The meaning was obvious. Chu Yazi, who is in the foundation building stage and could also be regarded as Zhao Xiuxuan's grandmother, would summon him alone. Zhao Xiuxuan was also confused and returned a puzzled look. Zhao Xiuxuan took out a letter and a jade phoenix hairpin from his storage bag and handed them to Zhao Xiuxuan. Since Elder Yazi wants to see you, you can hand these 2 items to the elder. Go, don't worry. Do you remember the second reason I mentioned? Elder Yazi is the second reason. Zhao Xiuxuan breathed a sigh of relief and bowed to the maid in palace dress, saying, please lead the way, Yazi Palace. This is the palace where Chu Yazi, the only foundation-building elder of the Chu family, lives. It is called a palace, but it does not have 3 entrances and 3 exits like the real Phoenix Palace. The palace wall is like a dragon. It is just a simple 2-layer inside and outside. Although it is also a gold-painted jade shop, the whole palace is mostly hung with plain silk. There were many women in pink palace dresses with their breasts exposed in the Yazi Palace. Zhao Xiuxuan was dazzled all the way. After waiting at the door for the call, he heard a soft voice from inside, come in. Zhao Xiuxuan was slightly stunned. He thought that the person living inside was an old lady of Zhao Lingting's age. Judging from the voice, she was no more than 30 years old. Without thinking too much, he stepped in. Sitting cross-legged on a jade table covered with plain satin was a mature woman who looked to be about 35 years old. She had a fairy bun with a phoenix hairpin and was wearing a plain and elegant black dress. She still looked beautiful and had an extraordinary temperament. It was Chu Yazi. Next to her stood a familiar and graceful female cultivator. Today is the second update. It's not easy for newcomers. Please recommend and collect. Comments are welcome. Please comment on the chapter. Thank you. Chapter 9 Overnight at Chu's house. How could this girl Chu Lanfei be here? Not only Chu Lanfei, there was another person in the hall, that is, Chu Shanfeng, who drove Zhao Xiuxuan back to Chishan. I, the grandson Zhao Xiuxuan, pay my respects to Grandma Yazi, and wish her a long life. Zhao Xiuxuan put himself in the position of a younger generation as soon as he opened his mouth. Hey, Chu Yazi covered her mouth and chuckled. Shanfeng, the boy you mentioned is really a wonderful person. Chu Shanfeng laughed in response, and I only thought that this boy had a wonderful body movement, but I didn't expect that his mouth was also wonderful. Zhao's boy, what body movement did you use that day? Zhao Xiuxuan immediately tasted the atmosphere and felt relieved. Thanks to Uncle Chu for showing mercy, my body movement was mediocre, just the basic Loyan step of the Zhao family. Loyan step, it's impossible. How can Loyan step have such a wonderful effect? You kid, don't hide it. Chu Shanfeng shook his head and pretended to be angry. Luo Yanbu is Luo Yanbu. Zhao Xiuxuan naturally insisted and performed it in front of everyone. However, he was somewhat shy and only maintained Luo Yanbu at the first level of Zhuan Miao. Even so, the black wind under his feet still surprised several people. Chu Shanfeng saw it. No, you kid, you had a trick up your sleeve last time. Chu Lanfei's eyes moved and her face was a little strange. After all, Chu Yazi has been in the Zhao family for so many years, and she has figured out the trick. It is indeed derived from Luo Yanbu, but it is much stronger than Luo Yanbu. It seems that Xiuxuan has transformed Luo Yanbu into Zhuan. Transformation. Chu Shanfeng and Chu Lanfei's faces changed drastically. Zhao Xiuxuan's heart moved and he remembered the saying of transformation. Transformation is a special term in the world of immortal cultivation. It is a very difficult realm to achieve, to cultivate a certain skill to the extreme, return to the original simplicity, and transcend the ordinary into the mysterious. It takes decades of unremitting practice and knocking on a thing to touch a certain boundary. If you break it, you can transform it into Zhuan. In the skill panel, the skill is upgraded after reaching the proficiency. Isn't it Xiuxuan? Zhao Xiuxuan didn't comment, but Chu Yazi's words awakened him. As his skill advantage gradually emerged, he knew how to explain it in the future. Chu Shanfeng and Chu Lanfei looked at Zhao Xiuxuan in disbelief. Chu Lanfei couldn't help asking, how did you do it? Xiuxuan is a rare thing, and even Chu Yazi was very curious about it. How could Zhao Xiuxuan say it? He could only bow and say, it's just that I practice diligently every day, day by day, and there is no other way. Everyone fell into deep thought, understanding but not understanding. After a while, everyone knew that asking about this matter in depth would be fruitless, so they turned to talk about other things. Xiuxuan, what do you think about Lanfei's withdrawal of the engagement? Chu Yazi's question made Zhao Xiuxuan confused. No matter how he thought about it, this was not a question he should answer. He looked at Chu Lanfei and gritted his teeth slightly. In his heart, he felt that this question was a bit fatal. If he stood in the Zhao family's position, he would inevitably list several heinous crimes, such as making the Zhao family lose face. However, he knew without thinking that he could never say that. After all, these people were from the Chu family. If he stood in the Chu family's position and said a few words that went against his identity, how would he deal with it if it got out? Moreover, the grandmother Yazi in front of him seemed to be leaning towards the Zhao family. After thinking about it, he could only prevaricate and say, Grandmother Yazi, the marriage should be decided by cousin Lanfei herself. For a family of immortal cultivation, marriage is a big deal. Unless one's strength is sufficient, it is impossible for one to influence it. Even the aristocratic families and royal relatives in the secular world strengthen themselves through marriage. He said this, and in fact, it was full of empty talk. However, when he said this, Chu Lanfei's eyes lit up. Chu Shanfeng curled his lips and said disdainfully, you really don't know your place. Chu Yazi clapped her hands and said, what a great decision you make yourself, but, she paused, then sighed. Li Chaoan, the young patriarch of the Li family in King Mountain, gave my Chu family a letter of engagement 2 months ago, wanting to become a Taoist couple with Lanfei. It's one thing to say, But how can he really make the decision himself? The Li family wants to form an alliance with the Chu family. Chu Yazi's words were like a thunderbolt that exploded in Zhao Xiuxuan's mind and caused an uproar in his mind. The Li family has repeatedly obstructed the Chu family from annexing the Zhao family, and the two families have always had a feud, so how could they start to get along? If so, the Zhao family's hard-earned living space will be in jeopardy. The betrothal gift was given 2 months ago. No wonder Chu Lanfei wants to cancel the engagement. It must be the pressure from the head of the Chu family behind the scenes, Li Chaoan, the new foundation-building cultivator of the Li family. If this marriage is successful, it will be a big blow to the Zhao family. Zhao Xiuxuan was secretly shocked. Seeing that Zhao Xiuxuan understood everything, Chu Yazi nodded. Originally, Li Chaoan was going to Wutong Mountain to discuss this matter with the head of the family in the next 2 days. However, Lanfei was determined to join the team of monster hunters in the Dead Sea, so they had to wait for some time. When you come back, it will probably be the day when Li Chaoan comes to visit in person. The whole story is clear. To put it bluntly, the reason behind Chu Lanfei's withdrawal of the engagement was actually caused by the marriage between the Chu and Li families. It must be that the Chu clan leader, who has always advocated the annexation of the Zhao family, has reached some kind of agreement with the Li family. They are going to attack the Zhao family's Daozang. Of course, Qishan cannot be considered so important. Maybe for these two families, dividing the Zhao family is just a matter of convenience. After all, the current Zhao family does not even have a foundation-building cultivator. Thinking of this, Zhao Xiuxuan raised his doubts. May I ask Grandma, why do you want my Zhao family's children to accompany you in the monster hunting this time? This matter has always been a knot in his heart. If it is not resolved, he will never feel at ease. Chu Yazi chuckled upon hearing this and said, "Don't worry, this is also a good thing for you, don't be nervous. I have already informed Zhao Lingting of the specific reason for this trip through the sound transmission talisman. For my sake, you must do your best in hunting the golden-winged bluebird. After all, it was me who asked Lanfei to join the team. If you return empty-handed, I will lose face, Grandmother has ordered." Xiuxuan will naturally spare no effort. With this reply, Zhao Xiuxuan was still confused, but relieved. Chu Yazi nodded. After the few of them chatted casually for a while, Zhao Xiuxuan prepared to leave. Before leaving, Zhao Xiuxuan remembered the things in his arms and handed the letter and the jade hairpin to Chu Yazi. Unexpectedly, Chu Yazi happily asked Chu Lanfei to help take off the phoenix hairpin on her head and put on the simple jade hairpin in her hand. When I was forced to return to the Chu family under pressure, I promised Zhao Lingting that as long as he was alive, the Chu family would not attack Qishan. Zhao Xiuxuan immediately understood her position between the Chu and Zhao families. After leaving Yazi Hall, Zhao Xiuxuan, who was full of thoughts, dismissed the maid in palace dress to lead the way. He walked back slowly along the original route while thinking about things. It was already dim at this time. The whole Chu family was lit up with flaming lanterns, which was magnificent. Halfway through, he suddenly felt a faint thorn behind him and heard hurried footsteps. He quickly took a light step and hid in the shadow of a doorpost. At this time, 5 young men in black robes came hurriedly with a step of several feet. The first one was the black-clothed man who stopped the Zhao family at the palace wall when they first arrived at the Chu family today. "Where is the person? I clearly saw people walking this way. They are all in the middle stage of key refining. How can he escape the siege of the 5 of us?" He was furious and his face was as cold as ice. "Brother Lanju, don't worry. I have a tracking talisman here. Let me find him." As soon as the man next to him finished speaking, he took out a talisman from the storage bag on his waist. Zhao Xiuxuan's face turned cold while hiding in the dark. He took out a white-faced and fanged ghost mask from the storage bag. One more chapter today. Chapter 10, Chu Family Riot. Ghosts. 5 disheveled young men ran around in the palace complex of the Chu family. Their clothes were tattered and seemed to be cut into pieces by something. "Stop. How disgraceful." A member of the Chu family could not bear to watch and waved his hand. A golden light fell from the sky and turned into a golden bell, directly covering Chu Lanju. Bang! That was the sound he made when he hit the edge of the golden bell. This movement attracted many black armor guards to walk onto the street and climb up the palace wall. They held a jade talisman in their hands, emitting a brilliant light that shone into every dark corner. Chu Shanfang grabbed one of the young men who was running around without any hesitation. "What's going on? Why are you running? The young man trembled, his face turned pale, and he could not speak 2 words clearly. This person was the Chu family member who took out the tracking talisman. Chu Shanfeng slapped him on the face, causing a red and swollen area. The man came to his senses and stammered to tell the reason. It turned out that just a quarter of an hour ago, he was about to use the tracking talisman. A black wind suddenly blew in the field, and under the moonlight, a chill climbed into his heart. Where is the wind coming from? Someone behind him muttered, and he subconsciously turned his head and suddenly saw a white-faced fanged, black smoke phantom under his feet sticking to the back of the person who just spoke, and the terrifying teeth were about to bite down. Fortunately, he shouted, and everyone was in chaos. Chu Lanju, who was at a higher level, waved his hand and chopped it with a fire palm, but the phantom was like a maggot attached to the bone, coming close to him, and there was no movement, just sticking to Chu Lanju's back. No matter how he dodged, he couldn't get rid of it. He raised his claws, and a few green lights went down, and the robe on his back was ragged. Now, several people were immediately scared, frightened, and ran away. Chu Shanfeng frowned when he heard the black smoke. The Chu family palace complex was full of flashing lights, and figures in black clothes were flying on and off the walls, looking for the so-called ghosts and monsters. Several figures in black clothes tapped their feet towards the Jinxin courtyard where the Zhao family members lived, and quickly leaped over. The Zhao family members seemed to have heard the noise. Zhao Xiuxuan, Zhao Xiuming, and Zhao Xiuxuan all came out and looked at each other, not knowing what had happened. The leader, Chu Yuju, who was wearing a crown and a hat, walked to the gate of the courtyard, looked at a few people, and found that one person was missing. His eyes suddenly changed, but his tone was still gentle. I wonder where the other master Xiuxuan is. Zhao Xiuxuan was about to say that he was summoned by Chu Yuzi, but at this moment, the house where Zhao Xiuxuan lived creaked, and Zhao Xiuxuan walked out. Zhao Xiuxuan swallowed the words that came to his lips, curious about when Zhao Xiuxuan would come back. Chu Yuja was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "It seems that a thief broke into the Chu family tonight. For your safety, please try not to go out. Several servants behind me will patrol the surrounding area. Please forgive me." After speaking, Chu Yuju said something to the 5 black armor guards behind him, then bowed, tiptoed, and hurriedly retreated. A thief broke into the Chu family. Great. After the guards left, Zhao Xiuxuan raised his hand to congratulate, and was pulled by Zhao Xiuming. "Brother Xiuxuan, when did you come back?" Zhao Xiuxuan rolled her eyes and said casually, "I've been back for a while." Elder Duxin, are you free now? I have something to report to you." Zhao Xiuxuan nodded, knowing that he had gained something from Chu Yuzi. "Come with me." The two came into the room. Zhao Xiuxuan waved his hand to cast a soundproof shield, and then said, "Tell me, why did Elder Yuzi meet you alone, and what did he say to you?" Zhao Xiuxuan skipped the matter of Loi Anbu, and only said that he had fought with Chu Shanfeng at the foot of Chishan Mountain that day. Chu Shanfeng mentioned himself in front of Chu Yuzi. Chu Yuzi was curious, so she met him, and then told him everything Chu Yuzi said. Zhao Xiuxuan was also shocked when he heard that it was Li Chaoyan, the new foundation building master of the Li family, who was going to form a Taoist couple with Chu Lanfei. This matter is of great importance. After you go to the Dead Sea tomorrow, I will immediately return to the clan and discuss this matter with the clan leader. The fate of the Zhao family may depend on this thought. Seeing Zhao Xiuxuan's absent-minded look, Zhao Xiuxuan quietly retreated. Back in the house, he opened the skill panel. Luo Yanbu, 2. 13/400, Realm, 5th level of Key Refining. 78/100, seeing that the proficiency of Luo Yanbu has increased by 1 or 2 points, he smiled slightly. Just now, he easily scared several key refining cultivators of the Chu family with Luo Yanbu and the sword light hidden in his sleeves, which is enough to show that Luo Yanbu is extremely powerful after upgrading twice. Luo Yanbu can get 20 points after upgrading for the second time. If it is upgraded for the third time, can it get more points? Luo Yanbu and Realm are not incompatible, but complement each other. After gaining points, it can improve the Realm again, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It was noisy outside tonight, so it was not suitable to go out. The house was small, so the loin step could not be used. Zhao Xiuxuan practiced Zuanshan Guang honestly. Realm, 5th level of Key Refining. 81/100, the sun rose, and Zhao Xiuxuan opened his eyes. He was full of energy after practicing all night. I don't know if it was the effect of the upgraded Zhuanshan. In addition, the speed of realm improvement was also much faster, and it was improved by 3 points in one night. At this time, Chu Yuzhu came to invite him, saying that the team heading to the Dead Sea had gathered. The four of them walked to the yard one after another. Zhao Xiuxuan was worried and said goodbye to the three juniors directly, and then hurriedly prepared to return to Chishan. The three watched Elder Duxin leave, and then followed Chu Yuzhu to the magnificent main hall of yesterday, Zhenlong Hall. Compared with the cold and quiet yesterday, there were many people standing in Zhenlong Hall today. They all wore dark clothes and jade pendants, and stood in their best attire. Zhao Xiuxuan also saw Chu Lanju, who was frightened by him yesterday, looking at him with a puzzled look. There were more than a dozen young men and women in the hall, and Chu Lanfei was among them. Chu Zhenyu, the head of the Chu family, was not present. An unfamiliar man with an inch-long beard and a brocade robe was speaking at the head. A few days ago, the family received news that the Lozan Island, where we hunted monsters before, will be holding a gathering of immortals. There will be too many people and it is not suitable for you to go. This time you will go directly to the Green Demon Island, one of the 3 mountains and 17 islands in the Dead Sea. In the hinterland of the Green Demon Island, there are also golden-winged bluebirds. Lanfei is at the 7th level of key training on this trip, the highest realm, so you should follow her. Also, the Green Demon Island is close to the inner sea of the Dead Sea, remember not to enter. As he said that, he glanced at the Zhao family members who had just arrived. That's it, let's go. Zhao Xiuxuan curled her lips again and whispered to Zhao Xiuxuan, Cousin Xiuxuan, the people of the Chu family look down on us. Zhao Xiuxuan shook his head slightly, but his eyes were on the 2 young cultivators who were out of tune with the others in the crowd who were about to set off. The 2 were dressed in blue, and they were clearly distinguished from the surrounding Chu family members who were dressed in black. When they talked to others, they were neither far nor close, and it seemed that they were not from the Chu family. If they are not from the Chu family, then where are they from? A bad thought came to Zhao Xiuxuan's mind. The boat was bumpy. After setting off from the Wutong mountain of the Chu family, everyone boarded the 4 huge ships of the Chu family and headed east along the wide Kangjiang River. There were 32 people in the group, including 20 Chu family black armor attendants. The remaining 3, including Zhao Ziming, Zhao Xiuxuan, and Zhao Xiuxuan, participated in this monster hunting, a total of 12 people. The Chu family's boat was built with Wutong wood. The 3 of them sat in a room on the boat and smelled of fresh Wutong wood fragrance. Did you 2 cousins see the 2 blue-clothed monks? They are sent by the Li family of King Mountain, Zhao Xiuxuan said to the 2 mysteriously while chewing the colorful fruits provided by the Chu family. Today's first chapter, please collect and recommend it. If possible, please give a chapter review, thank you. Chapter 11 Chaohe City. Li family. Impossible, Zhao Ziming said with a surprised look on his face. Xiuxuan cousin, don't talk nonsense. The Chu and Li families are like fire and water. How could someone from the Li family go with them? Zhao Xiuxuan glanced at them and did not intend to tell them about the marriage between Chu and Li. But he was still curious about how Zhao Xiuxuan knew that the 2 people were from the Li family. Where did cousin Xiuxuan get the news? Chu Lanfei said it. Zhao Xiuxuan then remembered that before boarding the ship, this well-mannered cousin Zhao Xiuxuan actually ran to the group of women in the Chu family, and in a short while, she became familiar with Chu Lanfei. Chu Lanfei, Zhao Ziming slapped the table with a displeasure on his face. Cousin, what did you say to that woman? Doesn't this bring down the reputation of our Zhao family? Moreover, when Chu Lanfei saw that Zhao Xiuqong failed to build his foundation, she immediately broke off the engagement. How cruel. Cousin, don't have too much contact with her. Uncle Jiu is right, a woman's heart and a scorpion's tail needle are the most poisonous things. As soon as he finished speaking, he was met with a cold stare from the 2 of them. Zhao Xiuxuan said bluntly, Cousin Ziming, if you continue to practice the Vajra Sutra, I'm afraid you will be like Uncle Jiu and continue to be single for decades. I've met Chu Lanfei, and although I don't know why she broke off the engagement, I have a vague feeling that there is something behind it. Zhao Xiuxuan was shocked. He never thought that this cousin Xiuxuan had such a keen sense of smell. Seeing that Zhao Ziming was embarrassed by what she said, she quickly said, Cousin Xiuxuan, have you asked why the 2 people from the Li family appeared in the team? Zhao Xiuxuan shook her head and said, Then I didn't ask. The few of them were silent for a moment. Ahem, Zhao Ziming coughed, trying to regain his voice as the leader of the Zhao family this time. But when the two looked at him, he couldn't say anything. He could only mutter, "Before we set off, the clan leader had told us to be cautious in everything." Well, we are cautious. The 4 large ships of the Chu family sailed in the wide river for 6 days and 6 nights. Zhao Xiuxuan stayed alone in the room, practicing the lion step. Fortunately, the Chu family was rich and powerful. Although their attitude was not very good, they did not make a difference in the accommodation. The 3 people of the Zhao family had a huge ship to themselves. There was no guard on the ship except for some sailors responsible for sailing. Zhao Xiuxuan was happy with this and practiced a lion step in the ship's whole day and night. Break all laws with one force. No matter how he plots, as long as his own strength is improved, one punch can break all things. Feeling that he had a plug-in like the skill panel, Zhao Xiuxuan was not panicked at all. Of course, the premise was that his proficiency had to be improved. With such awareness, a black gas was really like a ghost, swaying back and forth in the ship's hold. He ignored the scenery along the way. After the 7th day, the boat's movement gradually slowed down. He opened the skill panel, Luo Yanbu, 2. 34/400, Realm, Key Refining Level 5. 88 out of 100, in 7 days, his proficiency increased by 21 points and his realm increased by 7 points. According to this situation, his realm will be improved first. In the past few days, Zhao Xiuxuan discovered a phenomenon, that is, as his proficiency in Luo Yanbu increased, especially after it was upgraded twice, he consumed more and more mana each time he used it. When he was using Luo Yanbu, 1, he could use Luo Yanbu 20 times when his mana was full, but now that he has upgraded to Luo Yanbu, 2, he can only use it 16 times with full mana. This is probably a limitation. To use a higher skill, you need to have a higher realm. After another day, the boat finally arrived at a ferry on the edge of the Dead Sea. Walking out of the room, I saw the endless deep blue sea on the right, and scattered broken islands in the sea. On the left side of the boat was a high-walled town. The place where the boats were docked was a huge ferry at the estuary. Thousands of boats were docked here. Many monks came out of the boats of various shapes and colors to hunt monsters in the Dead Sea or to purchase materials. Looking up, colorful lights flew in the sky. They were all monks who had reached the foundation building stage or above and flew with swords. Going high is the dream of our generation. Zhao Xiuxuan secretly made up his mind that after this forced trip was over, he would stay in Chishan and prioritize raising his realm. The 3 boats of the Chu family all stopped steadily. In the boat where the children of the Chu family gathered, a person came down. It was Chu Yuju, who was wearing a crown and hat. He was talking to Chu Lanfei, who was wearing a pink peach palace skirt and a flying fairy bun on her head. The 2 blue-clothed monks who were suspected to be from the Li family were whispering to the 2 black-clothed people of the Chu family, and they also released a soundproof cover around them. Zhao Xiuxuan keenly sensed that their eyes were looking at him. He touched the ghost mask in his arms and thought to himself, if they really came for the Zhao family, they might not be able to return. Speaking of which, the ghost mask in his arms was made by himself and the clan on a whim. The 3 Zhao family members looked at each other and walked towards the main force. After all, on the surface, they were a team hunting monsters together, so they still had to get together. Zhao Ziming was very responsible and remembered the teachings of the clan leader before departure. His burly body blocked Zhao Xiuan and Zhao Xiuxuan behind him. Chu Yuja was talking to Chu Lanfei when he saw Zhao Xiuxuan and the other 2 getting off the boat. He smiled and bowed. 3 young masters of the Zhao family, we have arrived at Chaohe City. The Chu family's ship will return here. When you return from hunting monsters, you will still wait at this ferry. The 3 of them still had a good impression of Chu Yuju and hurriedly bowed to return the greeting. Chu Lanfei glanced at Zhao Xiuxuan, as if she had something to say to him, but it was inconvenient to speak because there were so many people around. After the fleet left, Chu Lanfei became the captain of this monster hunting team. Zhao Xiuxuan followed the group through the ferry and the tall and majestic city walls, and walked into the legendary monk town for the first time. Chaohe City. It is a high-walled city built at the mouth of the Dead Sea. It is said that it existed in ancient times. At that time, in order to resist the monsters flooding out of the Dead Sea, the monks built a monk town at each estuary. It was called a town, but it was actually the center of a large formation to suppress and resist the Dead Sea monster tide. Those seemingly ordinary bricks and stones of the city wall were engraved with extraordinary formation patterns. Once activated, they were indestructible. Not to mention Zhao Xiuxuan, even the Chu family members were stunned when they heard this secret. There are hundreds of thousands of cultivators living in Xiaohe City. Most of the cultivators who come and go hide their cultivation and wear masks. There are good and bad people among them. You may not know of a cultivator who passes by you as a foundation-building cultivator who is equivalent to the head of the Chu family. However, the foundation-building cultivators in Xiaohe City can only be said to be the backbone of the country, far from the top. This place has not yet left the territory of Yan State. Behind Xiaohe City is still the largest sect of Yan State, Qingyuan Valley. Although Xiaohe City is good, it is not the destination of the monster hunting team. Please recommend and read the book. The data of new book reading determines the recommended position. I hope everyone can spend at least 30 seconds to read the last chapter. Thank you. Chapter 12, True Phoenix Conference. After wandering around the Xiaohe Ferry, Chu Lanfei rented 5 wind spirit boats in a swift and decisive manner, and directly carried several people to several small islands outside the Dead Sea. The wind spirit boat is a fast boat with a wind array, without sails or oars, and is driven purely by magic power. Several people sat cross-legged on the wind spirit boat and looked down at the Dead Sea. With a vision of key refining cultivators, they couldn't see anything below 2 meters. Although the entire sea surface was calm, it always had a dark light, which made people feel uneasy. The Dead Sea was called the Monster Sea in ancient times. There is a kind of weak water hidden in the sea water. If a cultivator falls into it, his magic power will be quickly exhausted and then swallowed up. Zhao Xiuxuan held a jade slit and popularized knowledge for everyone. This was the record in a brief introduction to the Dead Sea and the Outer Sea map that she bought from a mobile vendor at the ferry. However, the Dead Sea is divided into the Inner Sea and the Outer Sea. As long as there is a wind magic in the Outer Sea, you can pass through. I think my 2 cousins, we should learn a wind escape technique as soon as possible. Hey, Luo Yanbu in our clan seems to be a wind magic. Zhao Xiuxuan knocked her head, and the hem of her green dress fell between her legs, making her look particularly charming. Luo Yanbu, why do you want to learn the thing? Zhao Xiuxuan said disdainfully, running around like a loach. It's just a spell to escape. I didn't learn it. Zhao Xiuxuan covered her face helplessly. Zhao Xiuxuan laughed. 5 wind spirit boats turned into 5 green lights and sped past on the Black Sea. From Xiaohe City to Qingmo Island, it cannot be done in one go. There must be a fixed route in the middle, and it must be detoured through several broken islands. The route must be accurate. If you deviate from the direction, you may end up in the territory of those terrifying deep-sea monsters. The boatman was a thin man with no flesh on his cheeks, but he was quite talkative. He wore a conical hat on his head and was a casual cultivator who lived in Xiaohe City all year round to make a living. He earned a little spirit stones by pulling boats for others to practice. According to him, he had wasted more than 40 years and finally cultivated to the 4th level of key refining. I'm telling you guys, I can tell you're from aristocratic families. Are you going to Qingmo Island to attend the True Phoenix Conference? True Phoenix Conference? Zhao Xiuxuan looked surprised. What is this True Phoenix Conference for? Could it be that a real phoenix appears, so you guys are not going to attend the True Phoenix Conference? Hey, how could a real phoenix appear? That's the legendary 6th level spiritual beast. Just half a month ago, a firebird of prey appeared in the 3 mountains and 17 islands. It seemed to have a trace of pseudo-phoenix bloodline. It was discovered by a casual cultivator, who then joined forces with more than a dozen late-stage key refining cultivators to block it and drive it into Qingmo Island. However, this firebird of prey fled to a place called Luoxia Valley on Qingmo Island. For some reason, it actually triggered an ancient ban, and the entire Luoxia Valley released pieces of rosy clouds, and even the foundation-building cultivators couldn't get close to it. But the cultivators who were chasing and blocking outside were anxious. They couldn't let this rare pseudo-phoenix bloodline escape, so they trapped the rosy cloud area and were trying to find a way to enter it. Upon hearing the news, the surrounding cultivators gathered together, looking for a way to enter the sunset glow, so it was called the True Phoenix Conference by those who were curious. As soon as the boatman explained, Zhao Xiuxuan's heart moved, and he asked casually, "Then may I ask if any way to enter has been found?" The boatman pinched his fingers to maintain the progress of the wind spirit boat, and sighed, "The way has been found. After many unsuccessful attempts, Some people found some native cultivators of King Mo Island and discovered that this sunset cloud valley seems to be somewhat related to the legendary true phoenix. It is said that in ancient times, a true phoenix landed here and lived for 3 days, leaving behind this restriction. Only those who practice the technique that can sense the true phoenix bloodline can enter. I also know a lot of news because I have been to and from King Mo Island so often. In the past few days, several people have entered and exited the Sunset Cloud Valley. According to them, there are many first and second level monsters in the Sunset Glow, and they seem to be protecting the firebird of prey. We must first eliminate the monsters before we can obtain the false phoenix bloodline, the skill of sensing the blood of the true phoenix, the blue loon. Zhao Xiuxuan suddenly had an idea and looked at the other boats 100 meters away. He found that more than a dozen members of the Chu family seemed to have heard the news and were discussing it. Some even stood up excitedly and said something while dancing with their hands. He faintly heard the words the phoenix and the phoenix share the same origin. At this time, Chu Lanfei was facing the endless chatter of the 4 members of the family who were sitting on the same wind spirit boat. Sister Lanfei, this true phoenix conference is a rare opportunity. If it weren't for you and me by chance, how could we have encountered such a good thing? The phoenix and the dragon are of the same origin. Our King Lun Guang can definitely sense the false phoenix bloodline entering the rosy glow. If one of us can obtain the false phoenix bloodline and refine it into the body, then foundation building will be just around the corner. Yes, Sister Lanfei, let's go to the True Phoenix Conference too. Go. Hearing the discussions of several people, the boatman standing at the bow turned back and said with a smile, if you want to go to the True Phoenix Conference, you have to change the route. You should decide quickly, it's not too late. Hearing this, several people on the boat became even more anxious. Even the Chu family cultivators on other boats looked over here, their faces eager to make a move, but they were all looking at Chu Lanfei. As the direct disciple of Elder Yuzi, Chu Lanfei was the top cultivator of the Lan generation, so everyone would listen to her more on this trip. Sister Lanfei, I don't know how many people can refine this true phoenix bloodline, but even if it's only enough for one person, with Sister Lanfei's cultivation, you will definitely be given priority. When you refine the false phoenix bloodline, your cultivation will increase greatly. After another 4 or 5 years of seclusion, my Chu family will have another foundation-building cultivator, a round-faced woman in palace dress next to her said kindly. Chu Lanfei certainly couldn't resist the temptation of foundation building. This true phoenix bloodline is a perfect match for the King Lun Guang practiced by the Chu family. In that case, let's go directly to the True Phoenix Conference. Okay, the boatman received the order, pinched his fingers and cast a spell to the other boatmen. Everyone understood, and then the Fangling Zhao changed direction and headed towards the True Phoenix Conference. Boatman, where are you going? Zhao Xiuxuan asked curiously. Your companions are going directly to the True Phoenix Conference? We have to change direction, it's much faster, the boatman replied with a smile. Oh, Zhao Xiuxuan suddenly realized, and then seemed to inadvertently hand the jade slip in her hand to Zhao Xiuxuan, and gave him a look. Zhao Xiuxuan saw her eyes, puzzled, picked up the jade slip and put it on his forehead, and a flash of light flashed. He opened his eyes and returned a wink to Zhao Xiuxuan. The two of them lowered their heads and watched the wind spirit boat bring up waves on the sea, pretending that nothing happened. But Zhao Xiuxuan's heart had already risen with vigilance. It turned out that the map that Zhao Xiuxuan had just bought at the ferry had the location of the True Phoenix Conference marked, and there was a detailed sea route, but the direction the boatman took them was completely different. An hour later, Zhao Xiuxuan compared the map and the jade slip in his mind. This was definitely not the direction to the True Phoenix Conference. If they wanted to go to the True Phoenix Conference, they should transfer at the next Kanglo Island. At this time, the destination that the 5 boatmen took them to was a remote and uninhabited island, Lilo Island. Please recommend, collect, and read. Thank you. Chapter 13 Battle of Lilo Island. Boatman, how do you operate this wind spirit boat? Zhao Xiuxuan seemed to be tired from practicing, and while the wind spirit boat was parked on the Dead Sea, he walked to the bow and casually saw the boatman meditating to recover his magic power. The boatman was only at the 4th level of key refining, and needed to replenish his magic power every once in a while. This thing seems good. I want to buy one in the future. I wonder if it's expensive. The boatman forced a smile. Not expensive, not expensive. For young masters like you, 50 spirit stones must not be a large number. If you are interested in this, you can come to me when you return to Chaohe City. I am very familiar with Chaohe City. I am familiar with many shops selling wind spirit boats. I know which ones are cheap and of good quality. Just come to me and I will take care of some chores for you. Zhao Xiuxuan patted him on the shoulder. No problem. You see, I still don't know your name after so long. May I ask your name? The boatman. You are too polite. My name is Wang Zhonggao and my friends call me Lao Wang. Lao Wang, you see, I'm tired of practicing. Can you teach me how to activate this wind spirit boat? Anyway, you still need to replenish your mana. Let me try it first. As he said that, Zhao Xiuxuan waved his hand and took out a spirit stone directly from the storage bag. When the boatman Lao Wang saw a spiritual stone, his eyes moved, but his face was extremely embarrassed and he said, Sir, it's not that Lao Wang is hiding something, but each boat has a different magic formula. If I give you this magic formula, it is equivalent to giving you this boat. My boat is already old and worn out. If you don't like it, I will definitely find a good boat for you when I return to Chaohe City. Zhao Xiuxuan saw this and didn't waste any words. He took back the spiritual stone, sat cross-legged and continued to practice. In this vast ocean, if you don't know how to control the wind spirit boat, it will be useless even if you take the boat. Another cup of tea passed. The boatman recovered his magic power, and the group continued on their way. After an hour, a thin mist gradually rose on the road. Zhao Xiuxuan looked at a low island on the sea level and pushed Zhao Xiuxuan, who smiled at him. The wind spirit boat reached the simple ferry in the middle of the island. On the empty ferry, several men dressed like boatmen came forward to help enthusiastically when they saw the wind spirit boat approaching. Zhao Xiuxuan looked at them and could not tell the realm of these people. There were as many as 5 people, including 5 boatmen and 10 key refining monks. Gentlemen, let's go to this island to rest for a while. The next island is King Mo Island. The people on the shore had warm faces and seemed harmless. Everyone didn't care and got off the boat one after another. Zhao Ziming wanted to go forward, but was pulled by Zhao Xiuxuan and pretended to find something and fell behind. What a broken place, someone complained. Why does it look deserted? Before he could continue speaking, a broken flying knife suddenly flew out from the hand of a taciturn boatman next to him and directly cut off half of the head of the person who was speaking. You've been whining all the way, damn it. This unexpected attack made the group explode. Zhao Xiuxuan, who had been alert for a long time, raised his hand and cast an aura shield on himself. This aura shield was not a spell, but a means of using aura to defend, so it did not appear on the skill panel. The others reacted a little slowly, until Chu Lanfei, who was in the lead, cast the aura shield, and then they cast shield armor on themselves one by one, or cast the aura shield defense in the same way. Thieves, how dare you kill my Chu family? The incident happened suddenly. When everyone came to their senses, they saw the cruelty of the surrounding boatmen who did not hide it well, and finally realized that they had fallen into a wolf's den. Several members of the Chu family were furious and raised their hands to hit the boatmen with several fire palms. At this time, 3 men in black clothes and shorts came out from nowhere. One had a round head and a fat face, one had more scars on his face, and the remaining one had messy hair draped over his back. The 3 had one thing in common, that is, their palms were extremely large, and their waists and backs were hunched, like an orangutan. As soon as the 3 appeared, they chanted something, black smoke came out of their palms, and at the same time, they made hand gestures, and a huge black dragon suddenly rose from the feet of the Chu family, trapping everyone inside. Formation, a trapped Chu family member exclaimed. The 3 Zhao family members who fell behind saw that the situation was not right and dodged to the side, but then, several boatmen waiting on the shore rushed forward, offering 3 swords in their hands, and fought with Zhao Xiuxuan and the other 2. Break the formation quickly. Chu Lanfei offered a red flying sword magic weapon, which flew into the black smoke with a clang. The entire formation was as solid as a rock under the attack of everyone, and it was not shaken at all. What's more, one of the 3 big-handed monks who worked together to release the formation put his hands together, rubbing black smoke in his hands, turning into a black snake, and drilled into the Chu family. Those who touched it fell down without any resistance. Damn it! Kill! The Chu family used martial arts to enter the Tao. 2 people took out several long swords from their storage bags and chopped at the black smoke. Pillars of fire rose and fell in the black smoke. However, They had no effect on the black smoke formation. Instead, because they were not on guard, they fell down as soon as the black snake touched them. Raise the spiritual energy shield quickly. Chu Lanfei saw that the formation was not easy to break, so she could only release a spiritual energy shield to block the black smoke. In just a moment, in addition to the one who died at the beginning, 4 more of the original 9 people fell down. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Only 4 people were left struggling to hold on. It's useless. The black evil formation will slowly wear away your magic power. It's better to surrender now. A man with a round face and a fat belly walked out of the 3 big-handed cultivators, and said with an evil smile, "I heard that you young masters want to participate in the True Phoenix Conference. I believe you have the skills that can sense the blood of the True Phoenix. Coincidentally, we, the people of the Black Mountain sect, also want to go to the Dead Fog, and we are in need of a few souls to open the way." Evil cultivator, hearing the other party's Black Mountain sect, and the soul and the like, most of them are evil cultivators. These people are good at refining blood and seizing souls, and they are insidious and vicious. We are a family of immortal cultivators in Nanshan County. You, an evil cultivator, dare to kill us. A member of the Chu family was fierce on the outside, and his legs were trembling, but he still plucked up the courage to shout loudly, "The souls of the children of the aristocratic family are the best." Unexpectedly, this evil cultivator didn't care about whether he was from an aristocratic family or not. The black smoke in his hand became more and more, and the formation was filled with black smoke and black snakes danced wildly. This scene made the trapped people even more terrified. Looking at the 3 evil cultivators again, they cast a detection spell and found that the 3 were all late-stage key refining cultivators. 1 is at the 9th level of key refining, and 2 are at the 7th level. What should we do now? Sister Lanfei is also trapped. Don't panic, concentrate first and break this formation, otherwise we will all die here. The trapped people were in a mess. Only Chu Lanfei saw that the flying sword and magic weapon had little effect. She pinched her fingers and a green fire cloud floated out from her fingertips and hit the black smoke, which immediately dispersed a large area of black smoke. Seeing that the formation had a hole, everyone had no time to be happy, and more black smoke enveloped them again, forcing several people to retreat. Seeing this scene, the 3 big-handed cultivators laughed strangely. These tender and delicate cultivators from aristocratic families are good-looking but useless, another person chided. Under the black evil formation, even if they have twice as many people, they will still be at our mercy. However, even if there is no black evil formation, with these scumbags in the middle stage of key refining, plus a little girl who has just reached the late stage of key refining, if they fall into the hands of us, the 3 evils of Black Mountain, with our skills in the late stage of key refining, we can't really overthrow them. The fat-faced evil cultivator laughed when he heard this and said, "Ha ha ha ha, you know what? These people from aristocratic families have good aptitude. This little girl can cultivate to the 7th level of key refining at such a young age, which is much stronger than us. If it weren't for the black evil formation, it would really be a lot of trouble. These girls are also very beautiful. We won't be in a hurry to refine souls later. Let's pick a few young ladies from aristocratic families to have fun first." The 3 of them laughed with their heads raised, making an obscene and complacent laugh. When these words came out, the female cultivators trapped in the formation were frightened out of their wits. Their hands trembled, and they collapsed to the ground when they were touched by the black smoke. The others didn't resist for long. After a while, under the attack of the black smoke, the spiritual shield was broken, and the black smoke in the formation was swept away. Everyone, including Chu Lanfei, fell to the ground. Seeing that all these people had fainted on the ground, the 3 evil cultivators laughed triumphantly again. To be on the safe side, the 3rd old man with scars on his face was left to continue to maintain the formation. The other fat-headed man and the weird man with disheveled hair looked at Zhao Xiuxuan and the other 2 who were being besieged. "Why hasn't it ended over there yet?" The monk with messy hair and big hands looked impatient. Although these boatmen were just ordinary disciples of the Black Mountain sect, most of them were still in the early stage of key refining, but they all practiced the sect's soul falling skill. The black smoke in their hands was powerful. Ordinary people in the middle stage of key refining could hardly resist it after 3 or 2 rounds. What he didn't know was that the 3 people of the Zhao family were not easy to deal with. In particular, Zhao Xiuxuan practiced the rarest Vajra art of the Zhao family. He was covered in golden light, burly and fierce. He didn't hold any magic weapon, but rushed into the boatman with his 2 arms, stirring up the river and the sea. The boatman's black palms had no effect on Jin. Once the Vajra art was activated, the whole body was covered with the golden light, and ordinary evil things and filth were difficult to break through. It is said that it was extracted by the second-generation patriarch from the Taoist canon of the ancestor. However, the physical condition is demanding, and only a few people in the clan can learn it. Zhao Xiuxuan, under the protection of Zhao Xiuqong, pinched a Xuanwu talisman in his left hand and threw fireballs at the boatman with his right hand. Zhao Xiuxuan saw that the few people were still safe, so he just stepped on the ordinary body movements and cooperated with Zhao Xiuqong's Vajra body to poke the boatman with his sword. Even so, 2 boatmen were pierced through the body by his sword and died. Because he was too relaxed, he had time to check the situation on the other side. Seeing that everyone fell to the ground after not holding on for long in the formation, he frowned. To be honest, Zhao Xiuxuan didn't care much about whether the people trapped in the formation were dead or alive, especially the 2 suspected to be from the Li family. He hoped to use these evil cultivators to eliminate a hidden threat. However, the 3 opponents were all in the late stage of key refining. If Chu Lanfei, the only one in the team in the late stage of key refining, lost her combat effectiveness so easily, he didn't know if he could deal with it. You retreat, the evil cultivator waved his hand, and immediately, the boatman who had only 5 dead escaped the range of Zhao Xiuqong's arms and retreated several feet. You 3 are alert and escaped the range of the Black Evil formation. Since there are enough souls in the Black Evil formation, you will be shattered to death. Before the evil cultivator finished speaking, he rubbed his hands again to produce streams of black snake smoke, but this time, there was a faint trace of blood in the black smoke. 3 people in the late stage of key refining, 1 was watching the battle, 1 was maintaining the Black Evil formation, and 1 was about to attack the 3. Although Zhao Xiuqong had consumed most of his mana, he still stood firmly in front of the 2 people, but this time, he pinched a Xuanwu talisman in his hand. At this moment, Chu Lanfei, who was originally crawling on the ground in the Black Evil formation, suddenly burst into green fire all over her body. Not good, the ugly-faced monk who was maintaining the Black Evil formation was horrified. Please recommend, collect, comment, and read. Chapter 14 Battle of Lilo Island. The green fire roared up and turned into a green fire phoenix, breaking through the Black Evil formation and rushing towards the ugly monk with scars who controlled the formation. The man was caught off guard and was completely attacked by the green fire phoenix. He was drowned in the green fire and let out a shrill cry. Black smoke came out of his 7 orifices. Old Third, the other 2 people didn't care about the 3 people from the Zhao family. They waved their hands and sent out black smoke, trying to put out the green fire on their companion, but that was the green phoenix true fire driven by the blood and essence of the Chu family's green phoenix technique. How could it be put out so easily? Chu Lanfei stood up with a pale face. It was obviously not easy to drive this green phoenix condensed by fire, but when she saw that the green fire hit someone, she still showed a charming smile on her face. She stepped on the ground a few times and quickly stood with Zhao Xiuxuan and the other 2. Zhao Xiuqong raised his arm to stop Zhao Xiuxuan and Zhao Xiuxuan behind him, as if he was afraid that Chu Lanfei had some tricks. Chu Lanfei ignored him and said to Zhao Xiuxuan, Zhao Xiuxuan, I'll deal with the evil cultivator at the 9th level of key refining. You hold the other one back for a while. He knew that with Zhao Xiuxuan's Xuanhuoyan step, he could definitely fight with the other late key refining cultivator for a while. Zhao Xiuxuan nodded and took out his long sword from his storage bag. Cousin Xiuyan, Cousin Xiuming, you guys deal with the other key refining cultivators. As he spoke, he drew his sword and was about to attack. However, before he could make any move, Zhao Xiuming behind him made a hum sound, his whole body trembled, and he stepped on the ground and rushed towards the evil cultivator at the 7th level of key refining. Chu Lanfei glanced at Zhao Xiuxuan and didn't have time to say anything more. She followed Zhao Xiuming and rushed up. Arrogant, seeing that the green fire had not dissipated for a long time, and the person was almost burned to charcoal, it was useless to save him. The 2 evil cultivators immediately turned around, their faces full of murderous intent, and rushed towards Chu Lanfei and Zhao Xiuming at the same time. The disheveled man threw a jet-black flying knife at Zhao Xiuming. The fat-faced and round-waisted evil cultivator at the 9th level of key refining fiddled with the black smoke, and the black smoke turned into a spear. He flew up and hit Chu Lanfei in the air. Chu Lanfei was at the 7th level of key refining, which was equivalent to the late stage of key refining. When the Chu family's martial arts were used, the sky was full of fire, but the evil cultivator holding the spear had strange moves. The spear was also very strange, sometimes turning into black smoke, and sometimes turning into a spear. Chu Lanfei had no choice but to use the spiritual shield to resist it. She was at a disadvantage. Zhao Xiuming didn't have so many fancy tricks. When the Vajra Sutra was opened, a golden spiritual shield protected the surroundings, and then he pounced on the big-handed evil cultivator who had been retreating and dodging. Under the messy hair, the man's eyes were sinister, and black light flashed on his fingertips. He controlled the flying knife to scrape Zhao Xiuming's spiritual shield. There was a small gap between Zhao Xiuming, who was at the 6th level of key refining, and the evil cultivator, who was at the 7th level of key refining. It could be said that in terms of the purity of their magic power, there was not much difference, but the evil cultivator was strong in his flexibility. Zhao Xiuming had more than enough defense, but he could not catch up, and was hit by the flying knife and magic weapon and could only resist. The fight over there was fierce in an instant, and the remaining Zhao Xiuan and Zhao Xiuxuan were stared at fiercely by the 5 boatmen. "Cousin, you 3 and I too." Zhao Xiuan was a little worried when he saw that Zhao Xiuming was no longer there to protect him. "No, I can handle it all." Zhao Xiuxuan flicked his sword and then took a loin step, turning into a black smoke, rushing into the 5 boatmen who had not yet reacted, and swung his sword fiercely, exploding a sword beam and a pile of broken arms and hands on the ground. "Ah!" Zhao Xiuan opened his mouth wide, and the fireball in his hand dissipated before he could make a move. Looking at the image of Zhao Xiuxuan stepping on the black smoke, he always felt a little inexplicably familiar. 4 people in the early stage of key refining and 1 in the middle stage of key refining were chopped down by Zhao Xiuxuan in one move. The boatman who swung his knife to kill a member of the Chu family was horrified and fled quickly. Zhao Xiuxuan stuck to him like a leech and pierced his back with a sword. This man was dead, but the others only had a few broken arms and elbows. Zhao Xiuan was in disbelief. How could his cousin Xiuxuan, who was usually unknown, kill one of the 5 people and injure 4 in a short moment? Seeing that Zhao Xiuan's mouth was wide enough to fit an apple, Zhao Xiuxuan had no time to explain and threw the 4 boatmen who had lost their fighting power in front of him and asked him to keep an eye on them. Then he drew his sword and rushed towards the evil cultivator who was controlling the flying knife and fighting Zhao Xiuming with his body skills. The monk had a sinister look on his face, and his flying knife was extremely sharp. Even though Zhao Xiuming was wearing a golden ore shield, it was shattered by the flying knife in a few strokes. Zhao Xiuming, who was not good at body movement, had been cut several times in a short period of time. Fortunately, he held a Zhuangwu talisman in his hand, so the flying knife could not do anything for a while. At this moment, a shadow passed through Zhao Xiuming and rushed straight to the big-handed evil cultivator with disheveled hair like a ghost. The monk's eyes moved, and before he could come to his senses, a sword beam cut across his waist and chopped on the aura shield he had hastily cast, smashing his body that was suspended in the air to the ground. Then, fierce sword beams gushed out from the black smoke condensed by the shadow, and in 3 or 5 strokes, his aura shield was shattered. Before the monk could run away, the black smoke stuck to his back and stabbed him from behind with the same sword. "Ah!" The exclamation here attracted the attention of the remaining one. Seeing that 2 of his 3 companions had died, his eyes were bloodshot. He rubbed his hands, and black smoke covered the sky and rushed towards the 2 people. He kicked his feet and wanted to escape. The 3 brothers used to be near this Lilo island, using their disciples to play the role of boatmen to trick some key refining cultivators into stealing money and refining souls. This time, they happened to encounter the True Phoenix Conference. By the way, they wanted to try their luck to see if there were any cultivators who practiced similar skills. They took the soul and refined it into a soul guide, and also went to the Luoxia Valley to compete. Unexpectedly, they met a tough guy. "Go first. If there's a chance, I will avenge the 2 brothers." He made up his mind and flew, but Zhao Xiuxuan made a feint, bypassed a black smoke, and chased him directly, slashing him in the back with a sword. "Damn it!" The fat-faced evil cultivator flipped his big hands, and a puff of black smoke hit Zhao Xiuxuan, but he dodged it. Being interrupted by Zhao Xiuxuan, Chu Lanfei shot a red flying sword and blocked his way. If he wanted to escape now, he had to fight to the death. The fat-faced evil cultivator didn't waste any words. He turned around and condensed a spear from the black smoke to fight with it too. Although I am at the 9th level of key refining, if we talk about the power of magic and moves, these two are definitely not my opponents, but the green fire that this girl spits out from time to time is specifically designed to counter my Black Death Soul skill. And who is this kid? Not only does the sword light flicker for several feet, but his steps are also very weird and disgusting. We can't fight for a long time. If those people in the black evil formation wake up, it will be a big trouble. His mind turned quickly and decided to go all out. He pushed with both palms, and the black smoke rolled to force the two back. He uttered a mournful howl. You deserve to die. Then he took out a blood-colored talisman from his bosom and stuck it on his body. In an instant, black smoke gushed out of his mouth, ears, and nostrils like a volcanic eruption, condensing into more than a dozen black smoke as thick as pythons on his body, making him look like he had more than a dozen huge arms. He blew a foul-smelling wind on the faces of several people, making them break out in a cold sweat. Kill, kill, kill. Kill you and refine my true soul. The fat-faced evil cultivator seemed to have lost his mind, and the only thought left in his body was killing. Zhao Xiuxuan. Hold him off for a while. Seeing that the situation was not right, Chu Lanfei quickly retreated, put his hands in front of his chest and made a spell, and a small blue phoenix appeared in the position of his heart. Okay, Zhao Xiuxuan rushed forward, using the Loyal Step to attract firepower in the strange black smoke. During this period, he threw a few fireballs and used the 10 sword techniques from time to time. He had no way to deal with the fat-faced evil cultivator wrapped in the black smoke. Although he had more than enough to advance and retreat, he was not good enough to attack and kill. He could not kill anyone with a Loyal Step, so he could only hope for Chu Lanfei. This fat-faced evil cultivator ignored Chu Lanfei and chased whoever was closest to him. Moreover, the speed of more than a dozen black smoke was so fast that even Zhao Xiuxuan was almost entangled by him. He no longer hid his clumsiness and used the Loyal Step with all his strength to avoid the whipping of black smoke again and again. However, in this way, his mana consumption increased a lot. A quarter of an hour later, seeing that his mana was about to run out, a green fire phoenix bird that was even bigger than before soared into the sky from Chu Lanfei's forehead, made a crisp cry, and rushed into the center of the black smoke. Ah! The last evil cultivator screamed miserably as he burned in the kindling fire, and was burned to ashes in a moment. At the same time, Chu Lanfei could no longer hold on and fell to the ground and fainted. Chapter 1 of today. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, 6th level of key refining. 6 days later, at the Blue Demon Island, Blackwater Ferry, there was a strong wind, thunder and lightning, and heavy rain at the ferry crossing. The huge waves were surging, like giant beasts hitting the coast. 4 spiritual wind boats flashing with green light shuttled through the black waves and flew to the shore dangerously. Shua. The people on the boat took back the 4 spiritual wind boats and gathered in a guest house to take shelter from the rain. This rain is very strange, it seems to consume mana. Someone discovered the strangeness of the rainstorm, stretched out his hand, and touched the rain curtain. Sure enough, the mana in the body was reduced a little at the moment of contact with the rain. Although it was very small, it would be difficult to walk directly into the rain without taking any protection. I think this is the first time for you to visit Kingmo Island. The rain on Kingmo Island is like this. The water spirit energy in the Dead Sea gathers in the air and condenses into rain. When it falls, it looks like this. It's not just Kingmo Island. The islands near the inner sea are like this. If you enter the inner sea, it will be even more dangerous. Even the mana of the foundation building cultivators can't withstand it for a quarter of an hour, a young waiter in the guest house said to everyone. Sister Lanfei, we can't leave in this rainstorm. What should we do? Someone asked Chu Lanfei. This group of people is Zhao Xiuxuan and his group who came all the way from Lilo Island. 6 days ago, after the last fat-faced evil cultivator of the Black Mountain, 3 evils was burned to ashes by the kindling true fire, Chu Lanfei fainted. When she woke up, the few people trapped in the black evil formation also woke up. Everyone checked their bodies and found that only their souls were slightly injured. After a day of recuperation, they recovered. At that time, Zhao Xiuxuan and several half-dead boatmen got a clear picture of the whole story through the interrogation. It turned out that the so-called Black Mountain sect was a small evil sect wandering in the Dead Sea. There were less than 100 monks under the sect, divided into two branches, the Soul Refining Hall and the Blood Refining Hall. The sect master was just in the early stage of foundation building and made a living by robbing houses in the Dead Sea. The Black Mountain Three Evils were the co-masters of the Soul Refining Hall in the sect. They had occupied the uninhabited Lilo Island for a year and had lured and killed more than 10 waves of key refining monks. Their purpose was to provide the foundation building sect master with monks' souls. To refine a second-level superior magic weapon, 1,000 monks' souls were needed. This time they were killed cleanly, which was also considered to be the elimination of a harm. Zhao Xiuxuan seized the opportunity and wanted to take the spoils of the Black Mountain Three Evils, but he didn't expect to get nothing. He sent someone to sell them on the black market a few days ago, but they were directly taken away by the master of the foundation building period as an offering. The rest, there was a volume of evil cultivation techniques that made people dizzy, which he destroyed casually. In addition, there were a few broken magic tools that could not be sold, which were of little value. Only 3 dark, 4-arm-long awls attracted Zhao Xiuxuan's attention. The boatman said that this thing was called the soul-breaking awl, which was refined for 9 days with the souls of 10 cultivators. It was extremely vicious and was designed to hurt people's souls. If it was stabbed, it would poison a soul. The Black Mountain Three Evils had just refined it for their own use. As for the other objects of the Black Mountain Three Evils, they were not worth mentioning. After forcing him to tell the method of driving the wind spirit boat, Zhao Xiuxuan killed the boatman cleanly and threw him into the Dead Sea. The reason why they encountered the evil cultivator's robbery and killing this time was actually because the Chu family members accidentally revealed the characteristics of their skills. Otherwise, with the strength of this group of people, the Black Mountain Three Evils would not have bothered to provoke them. This also gave Zhao Xiuxuan a warning that if you talk too much, you will make mistakes. When you go out, don't reveal your secrets. In this battle, the fighting power of the 3 Zhao family members, especially Zhao Ziming and Zhao Xiuxuan, made Chu Lanfei look at them with new eyes. When recuperating, Chu Lanfei had a private conversation with Zhao Xiuxuan. She revealed a reason why the 2 Li family members joined the team. It turned out that the plan to hunt the golden feathered blue bird was originally just a training for each new member of the Chu family who had just reached the 6th level of key refining. However, recently the Chu and Li family seemed to have a tendency to marry, so the Li family also sent 2 members to cultivate the relationship between the younger generations. After Chu Yazhi knew about this, she took this opportunity to let the Zhao family participate. So, the 3 of us are here to express our feelings. Zhao Xiuxuan was speechless when he knew about this. He didn't know whether Chu Yazhi, the great-grandmother, thought too simply or whether he thought too complicatedly. However, as long as the 2 people from the Li family were not coming for the Zhao family, it would be fine. The matter of Lilo Island came to an end. The remaining 11 people and 4 boats sailed on the sea for 6 days. During this period, they accidentally deviated from the safe route and encountered a group of black-eyed black-winged bird monsters. After a fierce battle, they finally arrived at Kingmo Island. In the past few days, perhaps because they had lived and died together, the people of the 3 tribes who hid their thoughts from each other were much more harmonious, not as disgusted with each other as before. There was even a cute tribesman named Chu Langson who took the initiative to talk to Zhao Ziming, who was on the same boat, but Zhao Ziming, a wooden head, was a little unable to turn around and rejected the little girl. Back to the present, Chu Lanfei looked at the strange rainstorm on Kingmo Island, and then looked at the map Zhao Xiuxuan gave her. It was at least 1 day away from Luoxia Slope. There was no choice but to pay 2 spirit stones, and everyone rested on the spot and waited for the rain to stop before leaving. Zhao Xiuxuan was happy because he was about to break through. Realm, 5th level of key refining. 98/100. Early the next morning, a cyclone swirled around Zhao Xiuxuan, and Zhao Ziming jumped up in surprise. After a closer look, Zhao Xiuxuan was actually at the 6th level of key refining. Cousin, you are really good. I remember you were only at the 5th level of key refining a year ago. How come you have reached the 6th level so quickly? Zhao Xiuxuan touched his brow and said, just a fluke. On the other hand, he opened the skill panel and checked it out. Name, Zhao Xiuxuan. Lifespan, 2597 years old, root bone, mediocre, 10/100, realm, 6th level of key refining. 01/100, skill, Zhuangqing, 1. 37, 200, remaining points. 0, skills, spells, fireball, 0. 59/100, Lianbu, 2. 35/400, rejuvenation, 0. 5/100, wind spirit boat control, 0. 13/100, talisman, Zuanwu talisman, 0. 89/100, exploring spirit talisman, 0. 10/100, martial arts, 10 sword techniques, 1. 21/200, his lifespan increased by 2 years, and he was promoted from the 5th level of key refining to the 6th level. His spells included a wind spirit boat controlling technique, Zhuangqing, fireball technique, Lin step, and 10 sword techniques. These techniques had been improved in previous training and fighting. He felt his own mana, which was indeed much purer than the 5th level of key refining. This increase in power made Zhao Xiuxuan feel at ease. Now he just wanted to complete this mission as soon as possible, return to Chishan to find a place to stay, and honestly improve his realm. The rain outside had stopped, and the group was on the road again. Although Qingmo Island is an island, it is actually a small continent. In this world, the area is outrageous. Similarly, Nanshan County is called a county. It is said that it takes most of the day for a foundation-building cultivator to fly a sword from north to south. You know, the speed of a foundation-building cultivator's flying sword is much faster than a horse race. It is said that it is equivalent to 100 kilometers per hour. It is estimated that a Nanshan County has a north-south length of nearly 1,000 kilometers. The Yan State can be imagined. The Waksha Valley is located on the edge of Qingmo Island, and is relatively close to the ferry. After a day's journey, they finally arrived at a huge valley covered by the glow of the sunset. At this time, many people gathered at the entrances of the valley, and there were many foundation-building monks flying swords in the air with their hands behind their backs. Seeing that they had arrived at the destination, Chu Lanfei stared at Zhao Xiuxuan and said to the 3 members of the Zhao family, "Then let's act according to the plan. Please recommend, collect, and read. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to point them out. Tomorrow is Tuesday, and it is very important for novices to read. Please support me. Thank you." Chapter 16, Blue-Eyed Demonic Ape. In the dense forest somewhere in the Blue Demon Island, a roar resounded through the sky. A large group of white-faced, blue-eyed monkeys with long eyebrows were running on the trees, with fierce looks on their faces and bare teeth. As they ran, they stared closely at 2 monks, one old and one young, who were sitting on a lizard under the tree and running wildly. Looking closely, the lizard was actually made of some kind of wood. For some reason, it could run like a living thing. Killer, these blue-eyed ghost apes are gathering more and more. We can't escape for long sitting on this lizard puppet and will be caught up. You run first, Grandpa will hold on for a while, you go back to the village and call someone. The old monk with a white beard looked pale, as if his mana was overconsumed. A little girl of about 11 or 12 years old with soft hair on her forehead hurriedly grabbed his clothes at the waist. "Grandpa, this place is still dozens of miles away from the village. If I go to ask for help, I don't know when my uncle and the others will arrive. Grandpa, please don't leave me." The old monk sighed and looked at the dozens of blue-eyed ghost monkeys chasing him. "I should have known not to provoke these guys for a 3-leaf lotus. I thought there were only 3 or 4 of them, but I didn't expect to poke a monkey's nest. Grandpa, you should talk less. I still have a soul-restoring pill here. Take it first." The little girl took out a small porcelain bottle from her arms and poured out the last round pill. The old monk's eyes lit up and he swallowed it quickly. After a while, he recovered some of his spiritual energy, but it was far from enough to support him to return to the village. Looking at the monkey group getting closer and closer, he made a decision, pinched his fingers and pointed at the little girl's forehead, and the little girl immediately fainted. Then, he pinched his fingers and gave an order to the puppet under him, and then jumped off the puppet. The man was in the air, and he took out 3 talismans from his arms, threw them out, and flew to the treetops above. Bang! 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 The 3 explosions that sounded almost at the same time startled a group of blue-eyed ghost apes, and the flames from the explosion of the fireball talisman burned the hair of several apes in the front, and several of them fell down. The remaining monkeys screamed terribly, and a series of wind bullets shot out of their mouths at the old man. Dang dang dang, the wind bullets hit the propped-up aura shield and made a sound like raindrops hitting. The airtight attack made the aura shield unable to hold up for long. The old man took out a small and worn-out turtle puppet from his arms and threw it on the ground. Then he stuck a talisman on the turtle shell, pinched his fingers, and the turtle immediately swelled several times. A cocky aura shield replaced his own aura shield. Afterwards, the old man took out the remaining 3 fireball talismans from his arms as a backup. As long as any ape wanted to continue chasing forward, he would throw out a talisman to explode a piece of sparks. Watching the giant lizard puppet running away with his unconscious granddaughter, he finally breathed a sigh of relief, and then looked at the ghost ape above his head with a worried face, which kept shooting wind bombs. He was thinking about how long the turtle puppet's aura shield could last. Facts have proved that even the turtle puppet, which focuses on defense, can only last for more than 30 breaths at most under the continuous attack of so many wind bombs. Kada, the turtle puppet, made a shattering sound, and cracks appeared on the tortoise shell. The old man was distressed and looked at the direction where his granddaughter left. He thought to himself that she might have left for a distance at this time, and the ghost ape could not catch up even if he wanted to. So he took back the turtle puppet, continued to hold up the aura shield that had just been restored, threw out the last fireball talisman in his hand, and ran to the other side. The group of apes immediately rushed up and pounced on him. The scene of one chasing and one fleeing appeared again in the dense forest. Paw! A wind bullet hit the old man's waist, and the severe pain almost knocked him unconscious. It turned out that in a moment, his aura shield had been broken, and the overwhelming wind bullets were hitting him. Unable to dodge, the old man had no other means. In desperation, he could only release the turtle puppet that was almost damaged, but after a moment, the turtle puppet was completely broken. The old man sighed and prepared to close his eyes and wait for death. Well, as long as Kidor left safely, at this moment, a golden figure fell from the sky and blocked the old man directly. Zhao Xiuxuan used the Vajraju to hold up a golden aura shield beside him to block a wave of wind bullet attacks. Ding 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 ding, bang bang, 2 fireballs exploded in the group of blue-eyed ghost apes, and the attack of wind bullet stopped immediately. This was not over yet. A stream of black smoke shuttled back and forth between the treetops and jumped directly into the group of apes. Before these low-level monsters could react, a large piece of sword energy exploded. Wherever the black smoke went, a large number of blue-eyed ghost apes fell down. The old man sat on the ground, looking at the corpses of monsters falling like rain on his head, shocked. After a moment, the blue-eyed ghost apes scattered and ran very fast. They disappeared in a blink of an eye. The black smoke jumped down from the tree and put the ordinary long sword into the storage bag. It was Zhao Xiuxuan. From behind the tree behind the old man, 2 pretty female cultivators came out at the same time, one wearing a palace dress and the other wearing a green dress. They were Zhao Xiuxuan and Chu Langson of the Chu family. Old man Yi Liang, thank you for saving me. Yi Liang was so happy to have saved his life that his whole face was smiling like a chrysanthemum. Zhao Xiuxuan glanced at the damaged tortoise puppet on the ground casually, thinking that puppetry was a good thing, and then he smiled and said, "Don't be polite, fellow Taoist, we are just hunting monsters here, it's just a small favor, it's not a small favor to save your life, fellow Taoists, the old man's village is nearby, if you don't mind, please come to my house to talk, so that I can show my hospitality." Yi Liang was very polite and took the initiative to invite the 4 people to his home. Zhao Xiuxuan was just about to use this puppetry, and he would not let go of this opportunity, so he winked at the others. "Then I'm sorry to bother you, old man, I just have something to ask you." The old man waved his hand. No, 4 benefactors, let's talk while we walk." As he said that, he picked up the tortoise puppet on the ground and led the way. Zhao Xiuxuan and the others looked at each other and followed. How did Zhao Xiuxuan and his 2 friends appear here? And why did they have Chu Langson accompanying them? We have to start with Chu Lanfei's plan. Originally, everyone came here to hunt the golden-feathered bluebird, but they heard about the fake phoenix bloodline halfway, so they went straight to Luoxia Valley. However, since the glow can only be sensed by cultivators who can sense the true phoenix bloodline, they were divided into 3 teams. Chu Lanfei led the Chu family into Luoxia Valley, and then 2 people were separated and stuffed into the 2 people of the Li family and Zhao Xiuxuan, 1 on each side, to the hinterland of King Mo Island to see if there is a chance to hunt the golden-feathered bluebird. It was agreed that they would meet in Luoxia Valley at the latest in 20 days. If there was an accident, everyone would contact each other with a positioning symbol. Zhao Xiuxuan and his 4 companions went east for 3 days and killed several waves of monsters on the way, but they didn't even see the shadow of the golden-feathered bluebird. Finally, a clue provided by a casual cultivator led them to this dense forest. It was said that the golden-feathered bluebird had appeared here a few days ago. While crouching and searching, he accidentally rescued Yi Liang, who was being chased by the blue-eyed ghost ape. Zhao Xiuxuan and Yi Liang were walking and chatting, and he looked back at the treetops, where there were still a few blue-eyed ghost apes following them from afar. "Don't worry, Xiuxuan, this beast was just scared by you guys, and it won't chase us again," Yi Liang comforted Zhao Xiuxuan. Zhao Xiuxuan nodded, and wanted to ask about the golden-feathered bluebird, but suddenly there was a loud noise in front, as if something huge was rushing towards them. The few people who didn't know the truth quickly prepared for a fight. When a huge figure broke out of the dense forest, everyone was startled. That's it, today's first update. Please recommend, please read, and please comment on the chapter. Chapter 17. An extremely large bear puppet came into everyone's sight. The bear rushed around and smashed several bowl-sized trees. There were 2 people sitting on its broad back, an old woman in her 90s and a little girl of 11 or 12 years old. Behind the bear, several giant lizard puppets crawled out, and each lizard had a monk dressed as a farmer. "Grandpa," the little girl on the bear jumped down and threw herself into the old man's arms, crying loudly, which was pitiful. Knowing that it was a villager from Yi Liang's village, several people felt relieved, but they were still vigilant. After being robbed by the boatman halfway, everyone was alert. After comforting the little girl named Kidder, Yi Liang touched the back of his head embarrassedly and said to the old woman on the back of the giant bear, "Why did you bother the village chief to invite this giant bear puppet out? Thanks to the rescue of these Taoist friends, I escaped from the mouths of those beasts." The old woman, leaning on a crutch, knocked on the back of the giant bear puppet, and cursed Yi Liang with spit flying. "You old bastard, I told you not to go to that cave, but you insisted on going. Go ahead and take little Kidder with you. It doesn't matter if you die. If anything happens to little Kidder, I will dig her out and whip you even if she dies." The old woman's eyebrows were raised in anger, and she looked fierce, making the elderly Yi Liang cough. After cursing, the old woman stood up with the help of a cane, then bowed to Zhao Xiuxuan and the other 3 with a smile. "I am Yi Luohua, the village chief of Yijia village. Thank you for saving my Yijia village. Let's go back to the village and let me entertain you." As she spoke, the cute little girl Kidder also said in a soft voice, "Brother and sister, thank you for saving Grandpa." Zhao Xiuxuan and Xu Langxin saw that Kidder was too cute, so they pinched her soft cheeks, making everyone laugh. "Please come up, I have difficulty walking, so I will rely on this puppet to walk for a while. If you don't mind, you can take this puppet back to the village." Several people jumped up, and the giant bear turned a corner and continued to rush all the way towards the village. After half an hour, several people passed through the dense forest and came to a gentle valley. There were trapezoidal farmlands built on the mountain. There were actually puppets that looked like oxen working on behalf of people. On the belly of the oxen puppet, there was a plow blade-like thing installed. On the edge of the field, there was only a cultivator who looked like a farmer standing in the field, guarding these puppets to farm. This scene made several people dumbfounded. Zhao Xiuxuan's heart moved. There were also many spiritual fields planted with spiritual rice and Chishan. Even in the town at the foot of Chishan, which was thriving by the Zhao family, there were also many secular fields reclaimed by the Zhao family. Although these people did not seek immortality and cultivation because of their limited qualifications, they were also members of the Zhao family. If this puppet was promoted in Chishan, wouldn't it greatly reduce the working time? This trip was worth it. Zhao Xiuxuan's mind turned quickly. Of course, what he valued most was the giant lizard puppet and the giant bear puppet that could fight with the cultivators. The village is very small, with only about 100 households. Most of the villagers know some family-inherited cultivation skills, but most of them are maintained below the 3rd level of key refining. There are only a handful of people who are at the 5th and 6th levels. The village chief Yi Luohua is the only one who is at the 6th level of key refining. This relieved the 4 people who had been secretly on guard. After all, their fighting power is still not inferior to these villagers. The news that Zhao Xiuxuan and his 4 men saved the old man Yi Liang spread like wildfire, and the villagers came to thank them one after another. During the conversation, They learned that Ye Liang took the risk to pick the three-leaf lotus in order to save his seriously ill wife, Kitor's grandmother, who was lying in bed. As for Kitor's parents, they were said to have died in the rare monster tide that broke out more than 10 years ago. Many people in the village also died in that disaster. Kitor burst into tears when she talked about this. Zhao Xiuxuan and Xu Langxin held her little face and comforted her for a long time, and finally coaxed her. The people of Yijia village prepared a lot of spiritual rice and monster meat for everyone in front of the ancestral hall. Everyone talked happily and Yi was happy to eat. During the meal, Zhao Xiuxuan took advantage of Yi Luohua's gratitude to ask about puppetry. Granny Yi, to be honest with you, we are all from a small family in Nanshan County. We have never seen puppetry before and are extremely shocked. I wonder if there is a saying that puppetry is not passed on to outsiders. I would like to learn it. When asked about puppetry, Yi Luohua hesitated. Zhao Xiuxuan waited for a while, and after eating and drinking, Yi Luohua said, logically speaking, you all helped to save that old guy Yi Liang. Although puppetry is rare, there is no reason to keep it to yourself. However, young Master Zhao doesn't know that the puppetry of our Yijia village has been passed down to this day, but it is already incomplete. Only the method of controlling it is still complete. The method of making puppets has long been lost. The puppets you just saw were preserved from 100 years ago. We have only relied on some maintenance methods from generation to generation to survive until now. No wonder the puppets looked a little old before. So that's the case. Zhao Xiuxuan suddenly realized and felt a little regretful. However, even if it was a fragment, he still planned to take a look. Hearing Zhao Xiuxuan's insistence, Yi Luohua did not refuse. She took Zhao Xiuxuan to the door of the ancestral hall and asked him to wait for a while. Then she took out a roll of well-preserved cloth from it. Zhao Xiuxuan knew it was the puppet technique, so he took it carefully and opened it to check. The first thing he saw was the 4 big characters small thousand machine method, followed by 2 methods. One was the method of puppet control, which was well preserved, and the other was the method of puppet making, which was 50% damaged. It seemed that there was really no way to practice this puppet technique. Zhao Xiuxuan sighed and was about to return the puppet technique to Yi Luohua, but suddenly he felt that a complete small thousand machine method formula appeared in his sea of consciousness. With a shake in his hand, he pretended to be calm and returned the cloth to Yi Luohua. He sat back at the table with a little dejected, but actually secretly opened the skill panel. Spells. Puppet control, 0. 0/100, puppetry, giant bear puppet, 0. 0/100, giant lizard puppet, 0. 0/100, turtle puppet, 0. 0/100, wooden ox puppet, 0. 0/100, wind eagle puppet, 0. 0/100, in the skill panel, not only a small puppetry was added to the spells, but also a separate list of puppetry was added. In addition to the giant bear puppet, giant lizard puppet, turtle puppet, and wooden ox puppet that I have seen before, there is also a wind eagle puppet that I have never seen before. This skill panel is really magical. A lost fragment can actually restore the entire picture directly. After a long time, Zhao Xiuxuan calmed down and prepared to close the skill panel. Suddenly, the remaining points item in the skill panel made him stunned. Remaining points. 20. Why are there 20 more points? I remember adding points before. Where did these extra points come from? Could it be? A thought flashed through my mind. Please recommend and read it. Today is Tuesday, and reading data is particularly important to me. Thank you very much. Chapter 18 Golden Feathered Bluebird. Could it be that I accidentally opened up a new category in the skill panel, so I awarded 20 points? This is the only possibility. It seems that this skill panel is somewhat different from the game panel in the previous life, and the previous experience cannot be fully used. The villagers were still toasting Zhao Xiuxuan enthusiastically. These drinks were brewed with spiritual grains and were filled with a faint spiritual energy. Zhao Xiuxuan looked lonely and seemed to be a little listless because he could not learn puppetry. How could they expect that Zhao Xiuxuan could learn puppetry thoroughly with just a fragment of a scroll, which had been damaged and lost for generations? This panel is a bit magical. As for the remaining points, Zhao Xiuxuan hesitated between Realm, Key Refining Level 6, 21/100, Root Bone, Ordinary, 10/100, Gritted his teeth, and finally decided to add it to the root bone first. Although he was determined to improve his realm, the root bone was also an item he wanted to improve. Realm can be improved through cultivation, but root bone can only be improved by adding points. This unexpected point is equivalent to a free gift, so the root bone must be given a good bite. Root bone, mediocre, 30 out of 100, remaining points. 0. Zhao Xiuxuan breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that this root bone must fight for its reputation and have a good luck in the future. But then he thought again. Just now he said that he couldn't look at this panel according to the experience of the previous life, and now he was looking forward to upgrading his root bone to add luck to himself. Isn't this contradictory? Forget it. Anyway, the improvement of root bone is also a huge benefit to me. I can't always be mediocre in the world of cultivation. Look at the production of the puppet again. Zhao Xiuxuan, who has a skill panel, can effortlessly obtain the production requirements of each puppet on the skill panel. In summary, the production of puppets is divided into 3 structures. First, the puppet body. Second, the power core. Third, the puppet spirit pattern. In a sense, puppets are similar to cultivators. The puppet body is equivalent to the flesh, the power core is equivalent to the dantian, and the puppet spirit pattern is equivalent to the meridian acupoints. The Trinity, plus the formula, can activate the puppet. To make a puppet body, you need spiritual wood. The power core can be a spiritual stone, a demon beast spirit core, and the puppet spirit pattern is the same as the talisman or the array rune, and it needs to be drawn with the blood of a demon beast or spiritual ink containing spiritual power. Spiritual wood, like spiritual valley, is a kind of wood that contains spiritual energy. It is not rare, but the wood grown in the land of spiritual veins is the best. The richer the spiritual energy, the better the spiritual wood. There is a kind of fire date tree on Shishin Mountain that can meet the basic requirements. Needless to say, spiritual stones or demon beast spirit cores are rare, but it is not a big problem. The difficulty of drawing puppet spirit patterns lies in drawing, but I have experience in drawing Zhuangwu talismans, and it is always the same after all. The future is promising. Zhao Xiuxuan regained his smile and chatted with the village chief Yiluahu for a few more words, asking about another important thing, that is, the whereabouts of the demon beast Jinayukin Nero. Yiluahu frowned and thought for a while. Golden feathered bluebirds. There used to be many on Kingmo Island, but they are rare now. However, I remember that old Lian Tao said that he had seen one somewhere. Old Lian Tao was Yi Liang. He was not at the table. At this time, he was using the 3-leaf lotus he had picked to make elixir for his wife. Once the 3-leaf lotus was picked, it needed to be used as medicine quickly. Hearing that Yi Liang had seen the golden feathered bluebird, Zhao Xiuxuan thought to himself that he had saved the right person this time. Logically speaking, as a member of the Zhao family, Zhao Xiuxuan should not be so concerned about the golden feathered bluebird. However, since he promised Xu Yazi to go all out before leaving, if there was no news about the golden feathered bluebird, or if things could not be done, it would be fine. However, knowing that there was news about the golden feathered bluebird, with his temperament, he still had to go and check it out, which was also a training for himself. I don't know what's going on at the True Phoenix Conference. The Pseudo-Phoenix bloodline will definitely be very useful to the Chu family. It's better not to let Chu Lanfei get it. An hour later, the few people who had eaten and drunk enough got the location of the golden feathered bluebird from Yi Liang and immediately said goodbye. Yi Liang tried to keep him but failed and expressed his gratitude for saving his life again. Zhao Xiuxuan took the opportunity to ask him for the broken turtle puppet. Although it's broken, it's much faster to repair a puppet than to make it from scratch. Yi Liang hurriedly took out a broken turtle puppet. It's useless for us to keep it. The repair method left by our ancestors has not been passed down. Then give it to my friend. The people of Yijia village were straightforward. Not only did they give Zhao Xiuxuan the broken turtle puppet, they even took him to a cave behind the village, pointed to a pile of broken puppets left by their ancestors piled up in the cave, and told him to take whatever he liked. Zhao Xiuxuan looked at the piles of ready-made materials, especially the 2 giant bear puppets underneath. His eyes lit up. But when he thought about his pitifully small storage bag, he could only sigh in despair. A few months ago, he didn't even have a storage bag. He could only take his only long sword up and down like a warrior every day. Fortunately, the clan equipped everyone with a storage bag for this mission, so that they could be like cultivators. The only drawback was that this free storage bag was only 60 inches square. It was enough to take a giant lizard and a wind eagle puppet, but it was really a pipe dream to want to stuff a giant bear puppet. In addition, He had another storage bag, which was the storage bag that he took from the only evil cultivator who was not burned clean by the blue wind fire when he was on Lilo Island. However, it was already full of a spiritual wind boat. Not to mention the giant bear puppet, it was difficult to put in another giant lizard. There were so many puppet materials piled up, but I couldn't take them away. I felt a little sorry. Since I couldn't take them away, I thought of another way. Zhao Xiuxuan touched his forehead, and suddenly a good idea came to his mind. One day later, Zhao Xiuxuan, a 3-meter-long giant bird, was lying on the huge rock. The edges of its wings showed golden lines, and its body was covered with green feathers. It was the first-level monster golden feather bluebird. It was basking in the sun at this time. Suddenly, a familiar fragrance came from the woods under the rock. The giant bird suddenly opened its eyes, stood up, and sniffed obsessively in the air, confirming that the source of the fragrance was in the woods under its feet. Its pair of yellow pupils turned several circles in its eye sockets, and it seemed a little hesitant, but the smell was really tempting. After a while, its huge wings flapped, bringing a green wind, gliding under the rock, and flexibly drilling into the dense forest of giant trees. As soon as its sharp claws landed on the treetops, it saw a green fruit lying at the foot of a big tree. It chirped and looked around in the quiet woods. It didn't feel any danger, so it soared down to the side of the fruit, sniffed it with its drooling beak, and finally swallowed it. "Do it." Seeing the golden-winged bluebird swallowing the fruit, a voice of "do it" came from the surrounding trees. The golden-winged bluebird was startled by the sudden sound. The green wind visible to the naked eye immediately gathered around it. Then it spread its wings and quickly flew into the air. Unfortunately, the intertwined treetops interfered with its flight path. Zhao Xiuxuan and Zhao Xiuming, who had been lying in ambush on the tree, jumped down. Two figures, one green and one gold, rushed towards the golden-winged bluebird. Today's first update, the second update will be fixed at noon. Please recommend and collect. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the chapter comments. Chapter 19 Return to Yi Village. On the other side, Zhao Xiuxuan and Xu Langxin both cast a large range of fire spells, forcing the golden-winged bluebird to face Zhao Xiuxuan and Zhao Xiuming head-on. Seeing the raging fire coming, the golden-winged bluebird flapped its wings and shot out a large wind blade, blowing away the flames in front of it. Then it was about to escape, but was blocked by Zhao Xiuxuan, who was approaching quickly with a lion step. When the upgraded 10-style sword technique was opened, combined with a lion step that kept adjusting its position, the sword energy hit the golden-winged bluebird at close range like water being poured out, instantly causing a large area of wounds. The golden-winged bluebird, in pain, could only retreat to increase the distance. In order to avoid the sword energy with a short distance, Zhao Xiuxuan kicked his feet on the treetops and flew away, keeping himself and the golden-winged bluebird within the killing range of 3 feet, and continued to release the sword energy without mana. Seeing that it had no chance to dodge, the golden-feathered bluebird shook its entire body, and a large piece of feathers fell off, turning into feather blades all over the sky, and flew towards Zhao Xiuxuan in midair. "Get up!" The Zuan-Wu talisman in his hand lit up a blue protective shield, blocking the feather blades. Zhao Xiuming, who had finally caught up with a golden-feathered bluebird, opened his golden light and beat it on the head violently. On the other side, Zhao Xiuxuan and Xu Langxin kept using spells in their hands, and the fireball spell kept hitting the bird. A quarter of an hour later, the golden-feathered bluebird, which had no way to fly, was hit directly through the head by Zhao Xiuming, who seized the opportunity and condensed his golden light. Golden-feathered bluebird, kill. The 4 people fell to the ground and smiled at each other. Even though Zhao Xiuming had always been dissatisfied with the Chu family, Xu Langxin's concern for them in the past few days made Zhao Xiuming, a rough man, feel tender for once. The next thing was left to Xu Langxin. She crouched on the ground, took out a small jade bottle, put her hands together and touched her forehead with her fingers, then drew out a green fire, which hit the body of the golden-feathered bluebird, and the bird immediately caught fire with a flutter. After about a cup of tea, the blazing green fire was extinguished, and a green blood that was still sizzling, drilled into the small jade bottle. This was the Chu family's method of refining blood essence. With the original true fire of their own King Luanguang, they refined the blood of the entire golden-feathered bluebird and obtained the final bluebird blood essence. With a small bottle, it was enough for several clansmen to use. Refining it into the body, for the Chu family who practiced King Luanguang, it had the wonderful effects of increasing the speed of practice and the purity of mana. If you have to trace the ancestor of the golden-feathered bluebird, it is the 6th level spiritual beast Kingluan, which is the same origin as the true phoenix. It's just that I don't know how many generations have passed in between, but in general, there is still a trace of the ancestral blood that is constantly diluted in it. Of course, the blue phoenix blood contained in the golden-feathered bluebird's blood is far inferior to the blood of the firebird of prey that was found to have a trace of false phoenix blood. If the firebird of prey with false phoenix blood is 5 generations away from the real phoenix, then the golden-feathered bluebird and the blue phoenix are 15 generations apart. This is also the reason why the firebird of prey was blocked by many cultivators. A bottle of blood with false phoenix blood can be sold for 1,000 spirit stones in the market, and there is still no market for it. Fortunately, we followed your advice and ambushed in the woods. Otherwise, even if the golden-winged bluebird could not bear the temptation of the Kingluo fruit, it would spread its wings and fly away when it came to its senses. We couldn't catch up with it even if we wanted to. Chu Langxin looked at Zhao Xiuxuan with a strange look in her eyes. She always thought that Zhao Xiuming, as a cultivator who had already entered the 6th level of key refining, was the most powerful one among the 3. After spending these few days together, she realized that Zhao Xiuxuan was the hidden one. Zhao Xiuxuan waved his hand. At this time, the matter of the golden-winged bluebird was over, and he could start doing his own things. Since a golden-winged bluebird has been caught, you should go back to Luoxia Valley and wait for Chulanfei to meet up. I have something to do and need to go back to Yijia village. Didn't you say that you have a positioning talisman in your hand? Give it to me. Chu Langxin frowned. What do you want this positioning talisman for? After saying that, she still took out the positioning talisman and handed it to Zhao Xiuxuan. Zhao Xiuming snatched it and said, Xiuxuan, why are you going to Yijia village? Zhao Xiuxuan said helplessly, I'm going to see if I can learn puppetry completely. That thing will be of great use to our family. Speaking of the Zhao family, Zhao Xiuming's brows relaxed. He touched his head and said, although the clan leader asked me to lead the team, I can see that you are smarter and more cautious than me, so you have to be careful when you act alone. Zhao Xiuxuan nodded, took the positioning talisman and shook it in his hand, saying, if I'm in danger, I will activate this talisman. Just like that, everyone said goodbye to each other, and Zhao Xiuxuan turned into black smoke and dived into the dense forest and disappeared. Chu Langxin looked back at the direction where Zhao Xiuxuan left, patted Zhao Xiuming's strong arm and said, Zhao Xiuming, what kind of body movement does your cousin use? It's amazing, and the swordsmanship is also amazing. Didn't Sister Xiuyan say that your Zhao family inherited magic? Why do you two use fists and swords, which is more like martial arts than our Chu family? Zhao Xiuxuan's arm was patted, and his whole body softened. He relaxed his throat and said, few people can practice my Vajraju. I only know about me and Uncle Jiu in the family. As for Zhao Xiuxuan, I didn't know him before, but looking at his body movement and sword, he is a bit like the Luo Yanbu in the family, but I don't know whose sword moves. Zhao Xiuyan saw the two people flirting and said with a curled mouth, let's go quickly. Zhao Xiuxuan set off alone, urging the Luo Yanbu to leave all the way. He recovered his magic power twice in the middle, and it took only half a day to return to Yijia village. Returning to Yijia village was a plan Zhao Xiuxuan had made the day before yesterday when he saw the piles of broken puppets in the cave. Since he couldn't take them away, he had to practice his proficiency before leaving. The villagers at the door knew Zhao Xiuxuan and had drunk spiritual rice wine twice during the meal. Seeing him back, they happily pulled him to the village. Zhao Xiuxuan went straight to the village chief Yiluahu and proposed to try to repair the puppets in the cave, which scared Yiluahu so much that his crutches almost fell to the ground. With a look of disbelief on his face, he asked, what? You can repair the puppet? Zhao Xiuxuan nodded. To be honest with you, village chief, I am not completely ignorant of puppetry. I saw your village's puppetry method the day before yesterday, and I just understood it. I think I can give it a try, but I don't have any materials on hand. You need to provide the materials involved in the process of repairing the puppet, and I will pick a few later. Yiluahu hurriedly stood up and pulled Zhao Xiuxuan away. If Mr. Zhao can help us repair the puppets, I will be very grateful. To be honest, the people in our Yijia village rely on these puppets to hunt monsters, and then sell the monster materials to King Mifang. The monster tide more than 10 years ago caused the puppets we managed to keep to be severely damaged. Without these puppets, we have been unable to make ends meet over the years, and even a large number of monsters nearby attacked, we could not resist. If Mr. Zhao can repair these puppets and strengthen the defense of our village, it would be great. You can pick them at that time. As for the materials, don't worry, we have always stored a batch of materials for making puppets. Yiluahe walked slowly and talked at the same time. He simply threw out a giant lizard puppet and rushed to the cave where the damaged puppets were stored with a group of villagers who heard the news. Zhao Xiuxuan had only taken a quick look before. Now he took a closer look and found that there were about 100 puppets. However, 20 to 30 of them had been damaged for a long time and the materials were useless. The remaining 60 to 70 puppets could still be repaired. When the villagers heard that 60 to 70 puppets could be repaired, they were very excited. With so many puppets, we won't be afraid of monsters coming to attack in the future. Yes, we can organize a few teams to hunt monsters for supplies. Zhao Xiuxuan said to Yiluahe, I need a quiet space, just this cave. Others should move all the puppetry materials outside the cave. I don't have much time. We can repair as many as we can. Yiluahe agreed and told everyone to go out and make room for Zhao Xiuxuan. After everyone went out, he immediately took action. Please recommend, please collect, please invest, please comment. Chapter 20 Repairing the Puppet. The first step is to sort out the puppets that have no repair value and put them aside. Some of the parts are still intact and can be used. The second step is to put the other puppets that can be repaired into different categories, such as giant lizard puppets and wind eagle puppets. This will help to repair them in batches and improve efficiency. The third step is to start. The wind eagle puppet has fewer parts and is easier to repair. Let's start with it. As he said, Zhao Xiuxuan picked up a wind eagle with a damaged wing and looked at it carefully. To be honest, although he had never touched a puppet before, due to the existence of the skill panel, he seemed to be very familiar with the various puppet parts under his feet. For example, the wind eagle in front of him, he could tell at a glance that he only needed to find a replacement wooden wing, and then start drawing the puppet spirit pattern from the power core again, and finally refining it with spiritual power to make the whole puppet intact. And this familiarity gradually improves with the improvement of proficiency, and then becomes superb, until the skill is upgraded by one level, and then gradually improves again, and then becomes superb, and so on. Zhao Xiuxuan began to stay in the cave day and night to repair these puppets. From the first day, he repaired 2, then on the second day, he repaired 3, and then on the third day, he repaired 5. His speed of repairing puppets became faster and faster. By the 10th day, he had repaired 41 puppets, 20 wind eagle puppets, 20 giant lizard puppets, and 1 giant bear puppet. The order in which he repaired the puppets actually took into account practical use. He repaired the combat puppets first. Those wooden ox puppets were only used for farming and were harmless for the time being. Looking at the pile of repaired puppets in front of him, he put them into the power core of the giant bear puppet that had just been repaired in front of him with great expectation, took 2 steps back, and cast a spell on the puppet that was sitting and lying nearly 3 meters high. A series of clear lights started from the power core and extended along the puppet's spiritual pattern. After a moment, the whole giant bear moved and let out a roar that shook the sky. In order to test the power of the giant bear puppet, Zhao Xiuxuan controlled the giant bear to walk to a pile of rocks, waved his palm and slapped it. 5 huge wind blades broke through the air and slashed out. The pile of rocks made a loud bang sound, and broken stones flew everywhere. This attack was equivalent to an attack in the late stage of key refining. Unfortunately, the bear was a little clumsy. It was okay to fight against monsters head-on, but it would only be restrained when encountering cultivators. After doing all this, Zhao Xiuxuan opened the skill panel. Remaining points: 20, skills, spells, puppet control, 0. 22/100, puppetry, giant bear puppet, 0. 5/100, giant lizard puppet, 1. 0/200, turtle puppet, 0. 20/100, wooden ox puppet, 0. 0/100, wind eagle puppet, 1. 0/200. Looking at the 20 remaining points, he was in a good mood and suddenly felt that the dark life in the small cave for 10 days was worth it. I didn't expect that repairing a puppet could directly gain 5 points of proficiency. 20 puppets can be upgraded by 1 level. If it weren't for the lack of time, I would have wanted to stay here to improve my proficiency. After the skills of the 2 puppets are upgraded, I don't know what will happen if I repair another one. Why not give it a try? Zhao Xiuxuan touched his chin and immediately started to work enthusiastically. 4 hours later, Outside the cave, Zhao Xiuxuan took out 2 relatively large pieces of the monster spirit core provided by the nearby Yijia village and put them into the power cores of a giant lizard puppet and a wind eagle puppet. With the driving of the spell, an eagle and a lizard surrounded Zhao Xiuxuan, one circling above his head and the other running fast on the ground. Go! He gestured to a huge rock on a hillside, and suddenly the wind eagle in the air made a chirp sound, opened its mouth and spit out 3 spirit energy bombs, bang bang bang, hitting 3 large holes in the boulder. The giant lizard crawling on the ground rushed forward and swung its tail at the boulder. A yellowish-brown light flashed on its tail, and the entire tail swung on the stone with a bang. The boulder, which was already pitted by the wind eagle's spiritual energy bullet, exploded directly, almost burying the giant lizard underneath. Sure enough, the upgraded puppet production can also increase the power of the puppet when repairing the puppet. Zhao Xiuxuan was overjoyed. The hard power of these 2 puppets was definitely comparable to that of the giant bear, and they were much more flexible than the giant bear. With these 2 puppets, I won't be afraid of insufficient attack when I meet a cultivator in the late stage of key refining again. After testing the puppets, he put the 2 into the storage bag and filled the storage bag up in an instant. I have to find a way to get a storage bag with a larger space. I can only make do with this now. I'm afraid I can't take the other puppets with me. These 2 are enough. I can make them directly when I return to the clan. Zhao Xiuxuan was not greedy and patted his storage bag with satisfaction. At this moment, a huge roar came from Yijia village not far away. What's going on? Just as Zhao Xiuxuan was surprised, a small figure ran all the way from outside the village, with a trail of dust chasing behind him. Kidder, the thin girl, was sweating profusely as she ran. A ghost-faced monkey monster was chasing her closely with its fangs and claws bared behind her. Fortunately, Kidder was also a cultivator at the 2nd level of key refining. Although the distance was being rapidly shortened, she had not been caught up yet. The ghost-faced ape bared its teeth, let out a strange cry, and spit out a green wind bullet, which hit Kidder's back of the head. Kidder was only concerned with escaping and didn't even open the spiritual shield. If she was hit, she would probably die. Not good. Zhao Xiuxuan saw it clearly, and Luo Yanbu used all his strength to charge it. A phantom jumped twice at a distance of several dozen feet, and suddenly appeared behind the little girl Kidder. He waved his hand and a spiritual shield appeared. Ding! Brother Xiuxuan! Brother Xiuxuan, run! Grandpa told me to tell you that there are 4 golden-eyed ghost apes in the village, and there are many blue-eyed ghost apes. Brother Xiuxuan, run! The little girl didn't know how dangerous she was just now. Seeing Zhao Xiuxuan blocking in front of her, she was only concerned about letting her escape. Tears were pouring down her face, and her crying voice was full of distress. The golden-eyed ghost ape was a demon beast comparable to the late stage of key refining. 4 golden-eyed ghost apes were definitely not something that the Yi family village, which was mostly composed of cultivators in the early stage of key refining, could resist. Even a giant bear puppet comparable to the late stage of key refining could not save their lives. But how could Zhao Xiuxuan leave? He casually released the wind eagle puppet and the giant lizard puppet from his storage bag. As soon as the giant lizard puppet was released, it rushed to the front of the green-eyed ghost ape that was chasing after it like the wind, opened its mouth and tore the ghost ape into pieces. This scene made Kidder's eyes widen. Brother Xiuxuan, you really fixed the puppet in our village. Moreover, it seems to be much faster than Grandpa's lizard puppet. Seeing her cute appearance, Zhao Xiuxuan couldn't help but touch her head, and then he held Kidder and jumped onto the giant lizard puppet, rushing to the village like a gust of wind, comforting him as he walked. Don't be afraid, Brother Xiuxuan will deal with these monsters. In order to stand firm, Kidder unconsciously learned to hug Zhao Xiuxuan's waist tightly, just like when she and her grandfather rode on the giant lizard puppet in the past. But she immediately reacted and let go of her hand as if she was hugging a red-hot iron. Her face flushed. Zhao Xiuxuan patted her little hands and told her to hold tight and not fall. Kidder muttered something, closed her eyes and hugged his waist again, her heart inexplicably filled with a sense of security at this moment. Please recommend, please collect, please invest, please comment. Chapter 21 Defending Yijia Village. The Yijia village has been plagued by disasters recently. At the beginning of the year, 2 boatloads of spiritual rice were seized by a group of 3-eyed blue crows that appeared out of nowhere in the Dale River, and several people were injured and a rare wind eagle puppet was damaged. Now, a group of terrifying golden-eyed ghost apes have come to the village. These beasts leaped out of the dense forest, as if they were smelling the scent of the three-leaf lotus. They stared at the medicinal residues that fell at the entrance of the village and squeaked, and then attacked the villagers of the Yijia village. Squeak! A golden-eyed ghost ape scratched the giant lizard puppet with its sharp claws, making a harsh scraping sound. The giant lizard puppet, which was comparable to the strength of a mid-stage key refining cultivator, was immediately scratched with several claw marks, but it still turned its head and opened its mouth to bite the ghost ape's body. Roar! The giant bear puppet took this opportunity to pounce on the ghost ape, pressing it under its body, and opened its mouth to bite it. The ghost ape was not simple either. It opened its mouth and spit out 3 fist-sized wind bombs in a row, hitting the giant bear puppet's lower jaw, making a bursting sound. The already cracked lower jaw immediately flew into pieces. Without the giant bear's mouth that could bite tightly, the ghost ape was only pressed to squeak. The other 2 golden-eyed ghost apes came out from nowhere, jumped onto the giant bear puppet, opened their mouths and fired several consecutive wind bombs at its back. Bang! 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 In a moment, the aura protection shield covering the giant bear puppet was broken, and then the ghost ape that escaped the trap and the other 2 beat it on its body. Its body became tattered and it lost its combat effectiveness, and fell to the ground with a bang. No matter how Yi Luohu played the spell, it was useless. The giant bear puppet fell down, and the Yi family villagers who were surrounded by several giant lizard puppets, with their backs against the ancestral hall, lost their strong protection and could only rely on the most basic fireball technique to disperse the monkeys that rushed up. After the 4 golden-eyed ghost monkeys dealt with the giant bear puppet, several of them leaped and stood on the huts in different directions, baring their teeth while driving the blue-eyed ghost monkeys to pounce on them. The already terrifying ghost faces looked even more horrifying. On the ground in front of the ancestral hall, there were already several corpses of villagers lying on the ground. Several monkeys were knocking bones and sucking marrow, gnawing on the white brains. This scene stimulated the villagers to turn pale and bloodless, and women and children holding children cried loudly. Yi Luohu knocked on his cane, his eyes still firm as he said, "All key cultivators. Put up the puppets and protect everyone to evacuate to the cave behind the village. As long as we hold the cave, there is hope of survival." Hearing this, a glimmer of hope sprouted in the hearts of the people who were originally desperate. The scarce mana in their bodies poured out as if it was free, controlling the remaining 5 giant lizard puppets to crash into the monkey group. The others cast a field of fireballs and earth cones, trying to break out of the siege at a single point. At this moment, the 4 golden-eyed ghost apes suddenly let out a sharp scream, and the apes followed suit. Amid the deafening screams, a large area of cyan wind bombs rained down on hundreds of villagers. Quick! Spirit shield! The village chief Yi Luohu was terrified and shouted loudly, but it was too late. Many villagers' mana was not enough to support the spirit shield, and only a small number of them set up a spirit cover on their heads. An endless stream of screams rang out, and more than a dozen villagers immediately fell in a pool of blood. Seeing that the ghost ape was about to launch a second wind bomb attack, all the villagers who were living under the precarious spiritual energy cover showed despair in their eyes. God has destroyed our Yijia village. Old ancestor, many villagers had already kneeled on the ground and completely gave up the idea of resistance. At this moment, a black smoke suddenly flew from behind the village and rushed into the group of ghost apes surrounding them. The black smoke also burst into sword lights. The black smoke was unstoppable, and a blood flower exploded in the group of blue-eyed ghost apes. Wherever the black smoke passed, there were broken limbs. At the same time, 2 or 3 wind eagles in the air opened their mouths and spit out a spiritual energy bomb at the 3 golden-eyed ghost apes who had not yet reacted, hitting them and making them run away. 2 giant lizards attacked the 4th golden-eyed ghost ape from the front and the back. At the same time, the momentum of the black smoke changed, and it shuttled back and forth in the group of monkeys in the blink of an eye. At least dozens of blue-eyed ghost apes were shattered into pieces, and the ghost apes fled in all directions. The whole situation was immediately reversed. Zhao Xiuxuan also emerged from the black smoke. He threw a few soul-restoring pills into his mouth and turned into black smoke again to chase the frightened blue-eyed ghost ape. "It's Master Zhao. Master Zhao has fixed the puppet. Master Zhao is here to save us." The villagers were so shocked by the sudden savior that they cried and screamed. After the surrounding blue-eyed monkeys dispersed, Zhao Xiuxuan commanded the villagers who still had magic power to go to the back mountain to get the puppets, and he controlled the 5 puppets at the limit to fight the golden-eyed ghost ape in the late stage of key refining. As for those timid blue-eyed beasts in the early stage of key refining, they were frightened by Zhao Xiuxuan's godlike advance and fled. Without the command of the golden-eyed ghost ape, they were basically threatening. Gradually, as more and more villagers drove their puppets to join the battle, more than half an hour later, the defense battle of Yijia village ended with all 4 ghost apes being killed and the rest of the insignificant blue-eyed ghost apes escaping. "Thank you for saving my Yijia village." Yi Luohu burst into tears and knelt on the ground with a crowd of villagers. "Hurry up, the one who saved you is your own puppet." Zhao Xiuxuan helped Yi Luohu up first. After the villagers thanked him profusely with gratitude, they began to clean up the battlefield with the grief. 2 hours later, Zhao Xiuxuan was at Kitter's house, talking to Yi Liang, who had survived the disaster, and his wife who was lying on the bed. Kitter's tender little hands kept twisting the hem of her skirt, and her eyes looked at Zhao Xiuxuan. "Young Master Zhao has saved my family twice, and saved the entire Yijia village. This is a great favor. How can I repay you?" Yi Liang looked at Kitter beside him with a face full of shame, and suddenly his head got hot and he said, "Kitter is a smart and dexterous girl. If you don't mind, please take Kitter in to serve you, so that she can repay young Master Zhao for saving his life time and time again." As soon as these words came out, Kitter's heart suddenly beat fast, her face blushed like an apple, she lowered her head, not daring to breathe. Zhao Xiuxuan was stunned for a moment, looked at the cute and tender girl Kitter, and quickly shook his head to refuse. "Old Master Yi, you can't do this. Kitter has been raised by the 2 elders with great difficulty, and she hasn't fulfilled her filial piety yet. How can I steal your love?" Kitter raised her head, and while she was relieved, she felt a little lost, and looked at Zhao Xiuxuan with complicated eyes. Just as old man Yi Liang was about to speak, something in Zhao Xiuxuan's arms suddenly emitted a clear light. He quickly took it out and saw that it was a sound transmission talisman. Chu Lanfei and the others must have already reconciled. After calculating the date, it was almost the agreed time. It was time to leave Yijia village, and Zhao Xiuxuan hurriedly stood up and said goodbye. Yi Liang followed Kitter, who had been keeping her head down. Outside the door, Yi Luohu and the villagers surrounded them enthusiastically. Some villagers brought Zhao Xiuxuan more than 20 spirit stones, as well as 4 round demon beast spirit cores the size of a baby's fist that were dug out from the body of the golden-eyed ghost ape. "Mr. Zhao, these spirit stones are a token of our goodwill, please accept them." Yi Luohu looked tired after cleaning up the battlefield, thinking that many people had died in this Yijia village. Zhao Xiuxuan looked at everyone, picked up 4 spirit cores of monsters and said, "I'll take these 4 spirit cores, but you don't need the spirit stones. The village has suffered such a disaster, so there must be many places that need spirit stones." As he spoke, he took out a jade slip from his arms. "This jade slip records your complete puppetry method. With this method, you can repair and make more puppets, and you won't be afraid of monsters in the future." As soon as these words came out, the villagers fell silent, with dazed faces. Zhao Xiuxuan looked around, grabbed Kitter's wide and tender little hand, put the jade slip in Kitter's hand and said, "Kitter, you have to learn this puppetry well." Kitter raised her head, her face was already full of tears, and her big watery eyes were extremely cute. She nodded and said, "Brother Xiuxuan, don't worry, I will study hard, and I will also protect the village like Brother Xiuxuan." "Brother Xiuxuan, will you come back after you leave this time?" Zhao Xiuxuan glanced at her, thinking that he probably wouldn't come back, but he still lied to her. "Yes, I will come back when Kitter grows up." Kitter was stunned, and suddenly smiled like a blooming peach blossom. "Brother Xiuxuan, are you waiting for Kitter to grow up and come back to marry me?" Zhao Xiuxuan coughed twice, and the positioning symbol in his arms shone even brighter. He nodded randomly to others and said, "Then I'm leaving." Then he jumped up and jumped onto the back of the giant lizard puppet that was about to be taken away, and fled into the woods. Once again, please recommend, please read, please invest, please comment, I will be grateful. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Chu Lanfei's Request for Help. Save me. Zhao Xiuxuan sat on the giant lizard puppet that was moving forward at a fast speed, perceiving the brief message in the locator. A request for help, a location. Who is it? I have the locator of Zhao Ziming and his friends. It's either the people from the Li family or Chu Lanfei. If it was Chu Lanfei, whether or not to save her was actually a matter for discussion. After all, for the Zhao family, if Chu Lanfei fell into a pile of monsters, not stepping on her was already considered merciful. But Zhao Xiuxuan knew that Zhao Ziming and Zhao Xiuyan might have met up with another group of people with locator symbols at this time. With Zhao Ziming's character, although he was reluctant, he would definitely go to investigate. If he ignored it and really encountered a strong enemy, the two Zhao family members would be in danger. He had Luo Yanbu, and he believed that as long as he didn't encounter a real foundation-building cultivator, he could deal with it, and even escape if something unexpected happened. Therefore, he had to go and investigate. The location marked in the locator was only 7 or 8 hours away from Zhao Xiuxuan. As a mount, the giant lizard puppet is much slower than Luo Yanbu, but it consumes much less mana than Luo Yanbu, and does not need to stop to recover mana. Taking all factors into consideration, the giant lizard puppet is more cost-effective. One day later, Zhao Xiuxuan followed the mark of the positioning symbol and came to the edge of Kingmo Island. It was calm and boundless here. He looked at the location again and found that it was an island dozens of miles away from Kingmo Island. Fortunately, after killing the evil cultivator on Lilo Island, he obtained a wind spirit boat, otherwise there would be no way. The wind spirit boat was sacrificed. Zhao Xiuxuan jumped on it, pinched the formula and flew away. The nameless deserted island was rocky. A gray mist rose up, making the only mountain on the island look like a steamer. There is a natural cave inside this mountain. There is underground magma activity under the cave. Above the magma, dozens of iron furnaces are hung. These iron furnaces are shaped like copper balls, with a rough appearance, and look hastily made. There were several holes on the iron stove that were smaller than a human head, and some obscure runes were painted all over it. In the cave, there were 6 mid-stage key refining monks wearing red clothes, with a straw or rope tied around their waists and veils on their faces. They sat around the cave entrance and occasionally cast a spell into a certain iron stove. Then, a shrill sound would be heard from the iron stove. Whenever this happened, these people would laugh a few strange laughs of enjoyment. Ahem, a cough suddenly came from the dim cave. Several people looked in the direction of the sound and saw a monk in hemp clothes with a veil walking in. Someone frowned and said, "Why are you hemp-clothed guards here instead of guarding outside? This is where the hall master refines blood. Get out now." The man said nothing, and stepped on the ground like a puppet, being led by something. This strange scene made the hair on the necks of several people stand up, and they stood up quickly. "Stop!" The Mayuai took 2 more steps forward, and suddenly fell forward, revealing a figure wearing a white-faced fanged ghost mask behind him. "Who are you, in the dim environment?" The 6 people were frightened by the ghost-faced man, and reflexively took out a piece of gray scale from their arms, but it was too late. The black smoke under the ghost-faced man moved, and in the blink of an eye, he approached the 6 people within 2 feet. A piece of green light was thrown out by his hand, and blood splattered on the spot within 3 feet. The 4 people were immediately separated from their heads. The other 2 were alert and avoided the vital points. They pinched the scales in their hands, and a bright gray light shield protected the half-loved body. They struggled to get up and run out. Suddenly, there was a rustling sound of reptiles crawling in the darkness. A giant lizard rushed out with a swish, and slammed one of the men to the ground with a tail whip. The gray light shield was about to break, but it was not over yet. The giant lizard puppet raised its head and slammed it twice more. The light shield was finally broken, and the man inside had no time to speak before he was beheaded by the ghost-faced man. This ghost-faced man was Zhao Xiuxuan, who came here according to the marked location. Seeing the tragic death of his other companions, the remaining man was so scared that he peed and shit. "Master Ghost! Master Ghost! Don't kill me!" Before he finished speaking, the giant lizard followed suit and cracked the egg open. The ghost-faced Zhao Xiuxuan went up and slapped him on the face with a sword, pretending to have a hoarse voice, and said, "Who are you? What are you doing here? Tell me and I'll let you die well." The man was so scared that he didn't dare to resist. He knelt on the ground and said, "Master Ghost, spare my life. We are the blood-snatching guards of the Black Mountain Sect's blood refining hall. We are here to refine the blood essence of the cultivators under the order of the hall master, Black Mountain Sect, and these evil cultivators again. How could it be such a coincidence?" Zhao Xiuxuan thought to himself, "What is the cultivation level of your hall master? How many people are on this island, and where is the hall master?" Our hallmaster is in the late 9th level of key refining, and the 2 deputy hallmasters are in the 7th level of key refining. There are only about 20 people on the island, 6 blood-snatching guards, more than 20 sackcloth guards, most of whom are at the 3rd to 5th level of key refining. The hallmaster is in the Taoist temple on the top of the mountain. Have you captured a woman in palace dress recently? Yes, 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 there are more than 1, 2 women and 1 man. They are in the same group. The 3 hallmasters personally captured them. One of them is in the late stage of key refining and was taken to the Taoist temple by the hallmaster. The others are here. As he said this, the man pointed to the iron stove above his head. It seemed that someone inside heard the noise of the fight, and several pale faces poked out from more than a dozen iron stoves. Zhao Xiuxuan frowned, stabbed the man under him with a sword, and sent him to heaven. Then he flew up, climbed onto an iron stove, and looked inside. Sure enough, a white and curled-up body was covered with some tiny traces of blood and sweat. It could be vaguely seen that it was one of the female cultivators of the Chu family, who was looking at him in horror at this time. Zhao Xiuxuan was stunned, and then he remembered that he was still wearing a mask. After taking off the mask, the female cultivator inside saw Zhao Xiuxuan's face full of surprise, and her throat opened, making a sound like a broken bellows. Save me. Without saying anything, Zhao Xiuxuan took out his sword and was about to make a hole in the seamless iron stove. After a while of clanging, the iron stove did not move at all. Until Zhao Xiuxuan touched a piece of demon beast spirit core the size of a fingernail embedded in the iron stove, and broke it off. The runes on the iron stove suddenly darkened, and then cracked with a crack. The naked person fell out from inside. Zhao Xiuxuan hurriedly caught it with both hands. His whole body was slippery. He quickly pulled a piece of clothing from the dead body on the ground and put it on her. Seeing that the female cultivator of the Chu family was rescued, she hugged his calf and cried bitterly. I don't know what torture she had received in the past few days. Zhao Xiuxuan rescued 11 people from the iron cage in the same way, 2 people from the Chu family, and the rest were cultivators from unknown places. One of them was overjoyed when he came down, and he had a lot of ups and downs, and suddenly died. There were only 6 dead bodies on the ground. After Zhao Xiuxuan stripped off the clothes, he could only put them on the female cultivator first, and gave the extra 2 to other people casually. Some of these people were speechless, and some were dying. In this state, there was no way they could be helped. Seeing the pity, Zhao Xiuxuan took out a few bottles of healing pills given by the Zhao family before departure from his storage bag, asked a cultivator who could still walk to distribute them, and then took the time to meditate and restore his full mana. 3 key refining late stage, key refining level 9 and 2 key refining level 7. Although there are 2 puppets with attacks comparable to those of key refining late stage, it is still a bit risky. I don't know what's going on with Chu Lanfei at this moment. Although Chu Lanfei seems to be in the same group as Chu Yazi, I can't joke with my life. No one's life is more important than my own. Let's wait for Zhao Xiuming and the others here. Since Chu Lanfei has sent out a call for help, Zhao Xiuming and the others will naturally receive it. With Zhao Xiuming, the cousin who practices the Vajra Sutra, helping him, the chances of winning are a little higher. I don't know when the bodies of the hemp-clothed guards hidden outside the cave will be discovered. However, just as he made up his mind to wait for others, there were footsteps coming from a winding fork in the cave, as if someone was coming. So soon? Was the body outside discovered? Zhao Xiuxuan stood up strangely, rummaged under the bodies of several self-proclaimed blood-stealing guards, and found a strange jade talisman that was crushed, with a faint spiritual fluctuation similar to the communication talisman on it. Sure enough, he sighed. At this time in the cave, the people who had just escaped death heard the footsteps and twitched all over like a conditioned reflex. Those who still had the strength began to crawl in the opposite direction, and those who couldn't crawl were trembling on the ground. I don't know what terrible experience they thought of. At this moment, a weak hand tightly grasped the hem of Zhao Xiuxuan's clothes. He looked down and saw that it was the Chu family female cultivator who Zhao Xiuxuan had rescued first. She was lying on the ground weakly, raising her pale face and looking at him with horror. Don't worry, I'm not going to escape. Zhao Xiuxuan sighed, squatted down, patted her hand, picked her up and leaned against the wall of the cave, so that she would be more comfortable, and then picked up the pitiful longsword and stood up. Thank you for your attention. Please recommend, please invest, please read, please comment on the chapter, please do anything. Thank you. Chapter 23 3 on 3. Cough. Cough, cough, cough. In the airtight cave, the strange smell of blood and molten lava was so strong that it was nauseating. Chu Laniu vomited until she coughed violently. Ah! Ah! The last screams rang out in the cave, miserable, but pleasant. She leaned against the cave wall as if boneless, and shrank her body weakly, looking far away at a tall figure in the darkness. Her originally empty eyes suddenly had some spirit. Zhao Xiuxuan clenched his sword and let out a long sigh. Under his feet, in a cave that was 2 people high, there were 10 corpses that were as broken as rags. They were all wearing linen clothes and had a straw or rope tied around their waists. The ones who came were all hum guards, and they were basically cultivators at the 3rd to 5th level of key refining. If he was just an ordinary 6th level key refining, being besieged by 10 cultivators at the initial and middle stages of key refining, he would be in great danger. With a combination of Luan Bu, 2, and 10 styles sword technique, 2, Zhao Xiuxuan was naturally not afraid, not to mention the raids of a wind eagle puppet and a giant lizard puppet. However, the scale magic tools held by several hum guards, and the spiritual shields they sacrificed were comparable to the black tortoise talismans, which was a little troublesome. He did not feel any discomfort in killing these people. There were dozens of iron stoves above his head, most of which were mixed with blood and stench. I guess they had imprisoned cultivators before. Some were piled with bloody things. He did not think deeply about it, but he knew what it was. It's not a pity to die. After killing all the enemies, there was no movement outside the cave that stretched to who knows where. Just when he thought that the 3 late-stage key refining hall masters did not personally take action, a deep and upright voice came from afar. I don't know which Taoist friend came to my Black Mountain branch hall in person. Tell me so that I, Mu Ben, can entertain him well. Zhao Xiuxuan frowned, looked back at the people in the cave, jumped onto the giant lizard puppet, and crawled forward. The cave was very long and winding all the way up. When it was almost at the entrance of the cave, Zhao Xiuxuan first released the wind eagle. After seeing that there was no ambush at the entrance of the cave, he used all his strength to activate the Loyal Step and jumped out at lightning speed. Hey! Taoist friend, you have such a handsome body movement. A voice of surprise came from outside the cave. As soon as Zhao Xiuxuan stood still, he found that he had jumped out of a huge half-length stone statue. Outside was a field of 30 or 40 feet. A shabby 3-story pagoda-shaped Taoist temple leaned against the cliff on the top of the mountain. The words on the plaque were blurred. In front of the Taoist temple, 3 middle-aged monks in red and black patterned Taoist robes were arranged in a triangle, waiting for him. Seeing that the person who came out was so young, Mu Ben, the head of the blood refining hall, was stunned. He looked at the wind eagle puppet hovering in the air and was even more surprised. Puppetry, this is rare, his eyes flashed, and he asked tentatively, this Taoist friend, which sect are you from? I don't know what my Black Mountain sect has offended you. Zhao Xiuxuan carefully observed the 3 people for a while. However, since he did not learn the detection technique that could detect the cultivation level of the monks, he did not know what the cultivation level of these 3 people was. However, the blood-stealing guard had said before that the 3 main and deputy hall masters were 1 at the 9th level of key refining and 2 at the 7th level of key refining. I guess the Mu Ben who was speaking was the head of the hall. 1 against 3. I have 2 puppets that are comparable to those in the late key refining stage. Although my realm is the 6th level of key refining, which is 3 small realms away from the 9th level of key refining, it should not be a big problem. It's a pity that although the 10 styles sword technique has a good range, the attack is still a little lacking. It can quickly clear the field against small soldiers, but it is a little lacking against those in the late key refining stage. Let's finish this mission quickly and go back to find an attack spell to practice. Thinking of this, he asked directly, where's the woman in palace dress who was abducted by you a few days ago? Woman in palace dress, Mu Ben frowned. At this moment, someone behind him said something in his ear. His brows suddenly relaxed, his eyes became a little strange, and his eyes were fierce. It turned out to be a kid in the middle stage of key refining. Bah, I almost hit you. How come you, a middle stage of key refining, killed the dozen disciples I sent over? If that's the case, it's a good kill. These idiots don't deserve to die. This person took a closer look at Zhao Xiuxuan's realm, and his expression changed so quickly. He didn't even ask him which sect he was from. It was also rare. Zhao Xiuxuan stopped talking, poured a few soul-returning pills into his mouth, released the giant lizard puppet, and reluctantly exchanged a low-grade spirit stone for each of the two puppets to ensure that they would not be disconnected during the battle. He patted the giant lizard puppet's hard shell, black smoke rolled under his feet, and his whole body became ethereal and rushed forward. Are the current middle-stage key refiners so rampant? Mu Ben laughed in anger. There were 3 late-stage key refiners on his side, so why would a small middle-stage key refiner dare to attack? However, he stopped laughing immediately. Under the urging of the lion step, Zhao Xiuxuan turned into black smoke and jumped through the air, urging the green sword light to shine, like the legendary sword cultivator who turned his body into a sword, and stabbed over in the blink of an eye. Swoosh, 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 the wind eagle puppet hovered in the sky, and the spiritual energy bullet made a sound of breaking through the air. Coolcha, coolcha, the giant lizard puppet grabbed the ground with its feet, drew a long gully on the ground, and rushed over under the protection of the earth yellow spiritual light. Bang! Bang! The last 2 intact beams of the Taoist temple were directly broken by Mu Ben, who was hiding in an aura shield that looked like a gray light egg. The entire Taoist temple, which was already in tatters, collapsed with a bang, and rubble and wooden frames fell to the ground. Only a stone statue with a short spear in the left hand, a sword in the right hand, and a pangolin-like beast under his feet stood still. A moment later, a figure rushed up from the mess on the ground, and yelled in shock and anger, "You little bastard, you killed my 2 deputy hallmasters. I will lock you up in the blood urn for 49 days. Outside the collapsed Taoist temple, Zhao Xiuxuan looked at the giant lizard puppet that was almost damaged with heartache, and took it back. Just now, at the cost of destroying the giant lizard puppet, he let it and the wind eagle puppet work together to restrain Mu Ben, who is at the 9th level of key refining, for a moment, and then used thunderous means to challenge 2 vice-chairmen at the 7th level of key refining with the 6th level of key refining. In terms of the purity of mana, the difference between these 3 people is very small, and their fighting experience may be several times higher than Zhao Xiuxuan, but they are no match for his cheating Luo Yanbu. In just half a cup of tea, they were forced to shake out a cold blood mist all over their bodies, which made people sick, forcing Zhao Xiuxuan to stay away, and then chased him with a flying cone magic weapon. Zhao Xiuxuan tried to rush into the blood mist several times, but was forced back by a disturbing evil thought. Even if he finally forced himself in front of the monk in the blood mist, all the attacks were blocked by the scale magic weapons held by the 2 vice-chairmen. At this time, he realized the shortcoming of short-range combat. He had no choice but to dodge the 2 flying cones while throwing fireballs into the blood mist. Although some of the blood mist was blown up, it was still difficult to deal with the gray spiritual shield enfolded by the scales. Finally, when Zhao Xiuxuan was dodging the flying cones, he suddenly thought of the 3 soul-breaking cones he obtained after the battle on Lilo Island. He pretended to be at his wit's end, but actually took out the soul-breaking cone after approaching, and easily killed him in the shocked look on the face of the man inside. Just after killing the 2 deputy hallmasters, the giant lizard puppet over there was attacked by a strange beast horn. Half of its body was pierced and damaged, making it difficult to move. It could only gather its spiritual energy in its tail and slap the last blow with all its strength, knocking Mu Ben, who is at the 9th level of key refining, away. Demon blood. In a rage, Mu Ben gritted his teeth and sprayed a mouthful of blood on his hands. Blood mist immediately seeped out from the pores of his hands, covering his hands. His eyes turned red, his pupils became thinner, and his face became extremely evil in an instant. A strong pressure suddenly came over him. Zhao Xiuxuan was startled, and quickly took out something from his arms. Chapter 24, Destroying the Enemy. The Zhao family's Zuanwu talisman is a top-grade protective talisman for the key refining period. It is not easy to draw, and only the Zhao family knows how to draw it. The talisman aura shield activated by it can resist a momentary attack from the late stage of key refining. When the Zhao family members go out, they will carry 1 or 2 of them. Crack! Mu Ben, a blood-colored figure, slid out from behind and rushed towards him. His blood-colored pupils were close at hand, staring at the expressionless Zhao Xiuxuan. His claws became twisted like a monster, and his 5 fingers seemed to melt and reshape, becoming only 3 long sharp claws. The 3 fingers were put together, and the nails like sword blades showed a strange purple-red color. The thick blood vessels were clearly visible on the forearm. The blood-colored ore flowed between the claws, and the Zuanwu talisman was shattered by one of his claws. Fortunately, Zhao Xiuxuan dodged quickly with Luo Yanbu. Unexpectedly, Mu Ben actually caught up with him, and his speed was almost the same as Zhao Xiuxuan's lion step. This made Zhao Xiuxuan unbelievable. This person can actually keep up with my body movement. It seems that I can't be blindly arrogant, I need to be more cautious. This was the first time he met a key refining cultivator who could be compared with him in body movement. Zhao Xiuxuan was shocked and secretly reminded himself. Two phantoms, one black and one red, chased back and forth on the collapsed mountain top. Zhao Xiuxuan threw a few fireballs while running for his life. After a while, he threw 2 huling pills into his mouth to maintain his mana at 60%. Although taking too many pills would cause pill poisoning, it was not a big deal at the moment. What he didn't know was that compared to him, the more Mu Ben chased, the more incredible he felt. Although the use of demon blood key made his face distorted, Mu Ben's consciousness was clear and he was not demonized. Because of this, the demon blood key spell became more precious. After all, a violent and bloodthirsty monster beast is easier to deal with than an intelligent monster beast. Demon blood key is a spell made of a monster beast's blood as the main blood, combined with one's own blood essence. When it is used, one can turn oneself into half-demon within a quarter of an hour, doubling one's speed and attack. Mu Ben knew that as long as he was stabbed by his claws, even if he didn't die on the spot, he would be invaded by blood poison, and eventually he would not be able to escape the boiling blood all over his body, and then explode and die. He noticed just now that this kid's body movement was extremely strange, so he directly activated the demon blood key, thinking that he could end the battle quickly. Who would have thought that a cultivator in the middle stage of key refining would be as fast as himself who had activated the demon blood key? Obviously, as long as he scratched the kid in front of him lightly with his claws, he could wait to watch him die miserably, but he just couldn't touch him. Half a quarter of an hour later, the two were still chasing each other. Zhao Xiuxuan looked back from time to calculate the distance, and used explosive magic such as fireball to block the half-demon Mu Ben. As he was throwing, a mysterious feeling suddenly surged into his Niwen Palace. Fireball, 1-0/200, without paying attention, he threw another fireball in his hand. And the speed of this fireball was obviously much faster than the previous one. Mu Ben subconsciously held up a small blood-colored spiritual shield in front of him to block it. Before this, he had blocked no less than 20 fireballs and had figured out how to use the least amount of mana to block this fireball. Bang! The explosion directly knocked the blood-colored Mu Ben to the ground. He jumped up in anger. You actually teased me. He was really angry. He thought Zhao Xiuxuan had been compressing his mana before, using fireball to test him, and then used it at full strength at the critical moment to catch him off guard. I'm going to suck your blood alive. Mu Ben made a strange move. He took off his shoes, clasped his hands together, and spat out another stream of blood from his mouth. This time, he spit it directly on his feet, and blood mist immediately came out of his feet. Mu Ben's face was distorted, and his eyes could no longer see the pupils, only a blood color. His forehead even grew 2 small horns. The most obvious thing was his feet, which made a creepy sound of bones breaking. After a moment, his ankles showed a toe walking style like a beast. Mu Ben seemed to have endured great pain. He squatted on the ground and screamed. The blood-colored breath was swallowed and spit out with his breathing. Mu Ben raised his head, his whole face became more demonic, and his eyes were completely bloody, but he seemed to have retained a trace of consciousness. He gritted his teeth and said to Zhao Xiuxuan, who was trying to recover his magic power. You're a mid-stage key refining. You forced me to use 2 stages of demon blood key. Although he spoke with some effort, it seemed that his consciousness was not very clear. Just as he finished speaking, a blood-colored figure, twice as fast as before, rushed over, and in an instant, a pair of claws pierced through the hem of Zhao Xiuxuan's clothes. At the critical moment, Zhao Xiuxuan also used all his strength to activate the Luoyan step, narrowly avoiding his attack. Yes, he was indeed testing Mu Ben, but he did not compress the mana of the fireball spell. Instead, he did not use his full strength in the Luoyan step. He had been relying on the strength of the Luoyan step, 1, to compete with Mu Ben in speed. Unless it was absolutely necessary, the full strength Luoyan step, 2, was used less frequently because the mana consumption was too high. This was the last resort, but this time it was still a bit dangerous. The speed of Mu Ben, who has transformed into demon, is comparable to my Luoyan Bu, 2. I just don't know how long he can keep it up. Mu Ben, who had transformed into demon, missed the target and stood there in a daze. Even though his transformed face was distorted, one could still feel his shock and disbelief. Impossible. 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 Mu Ban's face looked more and more unlike a human. A red light spread from his transformed limbs to his entire body. Following this, an uncontrollable bloodthirsty evil thought completely engulfed him. With his mind lost, he completely turned into a blood-colored beast, lying on the ground with a streak of blood behind him as he chased after Zhao Xiuxuan. A chase between two people took place again, but this time, it was an accelerated version. After another quarter of an hour, just when Zhao Xiuxuan was struggling to maintain his mana due to the pills, the blood-colored figure suddenly staggered and fell to the ground. The consequences of Mu Ban's transformation into a demon finally became apparent. Zhao Xiuxuan was afraid it was a trap, so he decisively sat down cross-legged. He stared at Mu Ban, who was lying on the ground with his limbs propped up and emitting blood-colored spiritual energy, while he hurriedly recovered his remaining mana. Fortunately, he was cautious. Seeing that Zhao Xiuxuan was not fooled, Mu Ban continued to roar and chase after him. It was indeed a trap. I didn't expect that Mu Ban, who was already inhuman, could still cheat. However, this was enough to show that Mu Ban had reached his limit. Of course, it was not just Mu Ban who was almost at his limit. Zhao Xiuxuan's mana was also almost at its limit. Now the competition was about to hold on to the end. Fortunately, Zhao Xiuxuan won. Mu Ban fell to the ground for the second time. This time, Zhao Xiuxuan followed suit and decided to recover his mana first. After recovering half of his mana, he saw that Mu Ban was weak and did not seem to be faking it. He seized the opportunity and pierced his chest from behind with his soul-breaking cone. Mu Ban tried his best to turn around and look at Zhao Xiuxuan, but he felt a sharp pain in his chest as if he was bitten by the 10,000 souls. The soul poison penetrated into his soul, and a foul-smelling black gas came out of his 7 orifices. Zhao Xiuxuan loosened his hand holding the soul-breaking cone, stepped back 2 steps, watched him die completely, and touched the storage bag on his waist, and then he breathed a sigh of relief. This battle was extremely dangerous, but fortunately, I won. In order to kill these 3 late-stage key refining cultivators, he used up all 3 soul-breaking cones, but he didn't know how many spirit stones these 3 people had. Zhao Xiuxuan hurriedly flipped through the storage bags of the 3 evil cultivators, and his face lit up. 21 strange scales, 72 low-grade spirit stones, the sharp demon beast horn magic weapon that just pierced the giant lizard puppet, and a first-level middle-grade flying sword. Hey, this flying sword seems to belong to Chu Lanfei. What is this? He found a blood jade bottle in Mu Ban's storage bag. When he opened it, a strong fire spirit rushed to his face. A phoenix sound came from the bottle, and a mysterious breath flew out from it, condensing into a fire phoenix, about to soar into the sky. Zhao Xiuxuan's heart moved, and he grabbed the phantom of the fire phoenix in his hand. A hot touch came, and he quickly threw it into the blood jade bottle and quickly covered it. Could this be the fake phoenix essence blood that the Chu family is looking for? Could it be that Chu Lanfei and the others really got it? Thinking of this possibility, Zhao Xiuxuan hurriedly put the blood jade bottle away, but looking at the storage bag on his body, he was not very reassured, so he stuffed the blood jade bottle into the belly of the wind eagle puppet. Then he burned Mu Ban's body with a fireball, and was relieved when he saw the ashes were blown away by the mountain wind. If it is really fake phoenix blood, then it will be a big deal. Zhao Xiuxuan calmed down, took a simple look at other things, and then set his sights on the huge stone statue in the collapsed Taoist temple. A moment later, he entered a cave through the secret passage behind the stone statue. After walking less than 200 or 300 meters along the cave, he found Chu Lanfei deep in a cave. One more chapter will be added today to quickly pass the outing plot. The next chapter will start to return to the family. Please recommend, collect, and invest. Chapter 25 Return. Chu Lanfei was leaning against the wall, a cyan aura shield was protecting her inside, and there seemed to be a long-tailed blue phoenix swimming back and forth on the aura shield. Chu Lanfei's face was strangely pale, but her chest rose and fell. Her peach-colored dress was tattered, revealing a pair of white and slender jade legs. Although her eyes were closed, she looked alive. At this moment, the cyan aura shield protecting her made a buzzing sound, and the blue phoenix bird on the aura shield cried out. Chu Lanfei suddenly opened her eyes, pinched her hands, and pointed at her heart. A stream of blood was spit on the aura shield. The originally weak aura shield trembled and regained stability. But her face turned a little paler. At this moment, he suddenly saw Zhao Xiuxuan next to him looking at him with interest. He was startled at first, and then said with disbelief on his face, "Zhao Xiuxuan." 2 hours later, a wind spirit boat shot from the sea and landed on the nameless island. 6 people came down from the wind spirit boat, 2 blue-clad Li family members, 2 Chu family members including Chu Langxin, and Zhao Xiuming and Zhao Xiuyan. As soon as the 6 people came down, they immediately split into 2 teams again, Chu Langxin, Zhao Xiuming, Zhao Xiuyan, and the other 3, with a little distance in between. The 2 groups of people were somewhat displeased with each other. Despite this, several people still cautiously explored along the location of the positioning symbol. Finally, they found Zhao Xiuxuan and others who were meditating and recovering on the top of the mountain. What happened to them? Zhao Xiuming stared at the Chu family members and unknown monks who were rescued, and asked Zhao Xiuxuan in confusion. Zhao Xiuxuan raised his eyebrows and said, "It's a long story, we'll talk about it on the way." Everyone rested on the nameless island for 2 days. After their bodies could basically move, they used the wind spirit boat to transport everyone to the Green Demon Island twice, bowed and said goodbye to the monks who were grateful for the rescue, and then the demon hunting team began their return journey. The team had 12 people when they set out, but now there are only 10 people left when they return. 1 person was killed by a boatman in Lilo Island, and 1 died in the cave full of iron furnaces. On the way back, Zhao Xiuxuan finally understood why Chu Lanfei and her group were targeted by the people from the Black Mountain Blood Refining Hall. It turned out that after Chu Lanfei burned the head of the Soul Refining Hall with a blue Luan True Fire on Lilo Island, she was marked by a soul seal spell of the Black Mountain sect. After she took the pseudo-phoenix blood essence from the Sunset Valley, several people were caught off guard by 3 Black Mountain sect late key refining masters who suddenly appeared and were all captured. The others were locked in the blood urn as blood slaves to refine their blood essence. Chu Lanfei was locked up alone in another cave by the 3 evil cultivators because of her high cultivation level. Chu Lanfei said that they were not paying attention, and she activated the formation hidden in the jade pendant in her chest with her blood essence. This formation was specially added for her by Chu Yazi, a foundation-building cultivator, to save her life. The 3 late-stage key refining cultivators could not do anything to her for a while. The river was surging. Chu Lanfei and Zhao Xiuxuan were on the same boat returning from Chaohei City. Chu Lanfei told Zhao Xiuxuan about what happened after she was captured from Luoxia Valley, but she did not mention how she got the blood essence from Luoxia Valley. Zhao Xiuxuan drank tea leisurely and did not ask much. This time it's all thanks to cousin Xiuxuan. Chu Lanfei hesitated for a moment, stood up and bowed to Zhao Xiuxuan. Then she looked at Zhao Xiuxuan casually and sighed. "It's a pity that the fake phoenix blood essence was lost to the evil cultivator in the late stage of key refining. However, cousin Xiuxuan also scared me. He actually dealt with 3 late-stage key refining cultivators at the same time and was able to kill 2 and retreat 1. Zhao Xiuxuan touched his brows as if he was a little tired. Without any strange expression on his face, he said, "Yes, if I hadn't relied on the 2 late-stage puppets that I got by chance in Yijia village, I would have died long ago. The late-stage evil cultivator named Mu Ben was not forced to retreat by me. It seemed that there was something wrong with the technique he practiced. After being demonized, he lost his mind and finally ran away. As for the fake phoenix blood essence, although it's a pity, at least we got the blood essence of the golden-winged blue bird, so it's not in vain." Yes, Chu Lanfei stared at Zhao Xiuxuan for a moment, thinking to herself that when she fought with that man that day, she did see his strange behavior after he turned into a demon. If she said that Zhao Xiuxuan, who was only at the 6th level of key refining, could kill Mu Ben after he turned into a demon, she would never believe it. Yes, even if it was the golden-feathered bluebird, it was all thanks to my cousin. We were saved by my cousin twice during this trip, once on Lilo Island and once on that deserted island. If it weren't for you, she couldn't continue talking, and her face was a little sullen. The 2 were silent for a while. Chu Lanfei didn't seem to want to talk about this topic anymore. She changed the subject and said, "Being in the family, many things are beyond my control. After I go back this time, I will become a Taoist partner with Li Chaoyan of the Li family. I will try my best to say a few words for the Zhao family." As she said that, she stood up and walked to the door, pushed the door and left. Zhao Xiuxuan was thinking about her words. It sounded like she had made up her mind to marry Li Chaoyan. The Chu family's boat sailed along the way for 6 days and finally arrived at the ferry. More than 20 Chu family black-clothed guards greeted them at the ferry, and several Chu family elders in the late stage of key training came to greet them in their best attire. The blue phoenix flags and the horns were all a courtesy to welcome the Chu family members back from hunting monsters. Zhao Xiuxuan and the other two were taken aside by the guards. Chu Yuju, who had known about the fake phoenix blood, apologized and asked to check their storage bags. Although the three were unwilling, they still let him check them. Seeing the wind eagle puppet hovering in the sky, everyone was shocked. Puppetry was a rare thing in Nanshan County. Chu Yuju turned the three people's storage bags upside down, opened every bottle and jar and checked it, but still did not find the fake phoenix blood, so he told them that they could leave. Chu Langxin said something to Zhao Xiuming, and Zhao Xiuming immediately scratched the back of his head awkwardly, and Chu Langxin pinched her. The injured Chu Lanai was taken away by a crying young woman in palace dress. Before leaving, she looked back at Zhao Xiuxuan, as if she wanted to say something but hesitated. The Chu family went back home. Zhao Xiuxuan and the other two were eager to go home. They bought a shabby carriage and a group of skinny horses in the mortal village near the ferry with a few pieces of gold. They traveled day and night for 3 days and returned to Chishan. When they arrived at the foot of Chishan, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Seeing the familiar mist rising in the night, Zhao Xiuming and Zhao Xiuan were particularly happy. Brother Xiuming. It's the brothers who are back. The tribesmen who were patrolling at the foot of the mountain at night recognized Zhao Xiuming, who was tall and strong, and quickly released a pigeon to inform the elders on the mountain. As the few people walked, more and more tribesmen gathered on the road. Everyone was very happy to see the three people return safely. It was not until Elder Duxian came with big strides that everyone dispersed. Xiuming, Xiuxuan, Xiuan, you three have worked hard this time. Let's go back to the mountain and talk. After not seeing each other for nearly 2 months, Elder Duxian seemed to have aged a little. Although he saw the three people were very happy, his eyebrows still showed a little worry. Elder, nothing happened in the tribe in the past 2 months, Zhao Xiuxuan asked when they went up the mountain. When Zhao Xiuxuan asked, Zhao Xiuxuan sighed and said, "Hey, let's go back to the mountain first." Today's first update, please recommend, please read, and please comment on the chapter. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.